Welcome to the Town of Highland Beach Town Commission meeting. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Chinovsky,
Present.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Present.
Commissioner Peters,
Present.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Present.
Mayor Moore,
Present.
Town Manager Labadie,
Here.
and Town Attorney Rubin.
Present.
If we could all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda? Seeing no changes, if we could have a motion to approve the agenda.
Yes, I move to approve the agenda.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to presentations and proclamations, and we have a very special proclamation today honoring Gertrude Kozofsky, and it is our 103rd birthday, which is amazing. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about Ms. Kozofsky. Gertrude Kozofsky recently celebrated her 103rd birthday on May 16th. So she's a little more than 103. She was born on May 16th, 1923 in Brooklyn, New York, and grew up during the Great Depression, developing the resilience, determination, and compassion that have characterized her remarkable life. And after earning a degree in chemistry from Hunter College, Gertrude contributed to the nation's wartime efforts by working in various physician laboratories in New York City and several Army hospital laboratories during World War II. Very nice. And together with her husband, Dr. Harold Kozofsky, she raised 2 children and later pursued a successful career as an interior decorator and became a distinguished collector of the James McNeill Whistler artwork, with her collection now part of the Frick collection and being shared with the public. And whereas following the passage of her husband, Dr. Harry Kozofsky, she moved to Highland Beach in 2017, fulfilling a lifelong dream of living by the ocean at the age of 95. And whereas Gertrude Kozofsky resides in the Highland Beach community with her son, embracing the town's unique coastal character, library exhibits, and the kindness and friendship of its residents. Now I therefore, Natasha Moore, Mayor and the Town Commission do hereby proclaim May 16th, 2026 as Gertrude Kozofsky Day and extend our heartfelt wishes to Gertrude Kozofsky on celebrating her 103rd birthday and wish her continued health and happiness in the years to come. So, congratulations. And if the commission wouldn't mind, if we could stand in front of the podium and bring her up and present.
I just have to tell a little story about it. Peter lives in my building. Peter went when I was talking. And at 103, she still cares and calls her son, where are you? Where is it? At 103, she's still worried about her. Yes.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, Cam Milani's request for amendments to the settlement agreement. If Cam, if you want, Mr. Milani, if you want to come to the podium.
Hi, thanks for having me. I know I've got a couple of requests in front of you, so I'd like to, just in the interest of time for everybody as well, just focus on them separately. So I'd like to start with the Altavilla development that we've got, which is on the west side of A1A, which is known as the townhouse development for everybody. So we're here on a couple of requests for there. Little bit of history. We entered into a settlement agreement with the town decades ago under some certain development standards that were consistent at the time, which allowed us for about 40 feet of height from the 8 feet above mean high water line. It was a different type of calculation than you have today, but it's roughly 40 feet. It's above that line. Today, your standards actually don't really have a height maximum. They just say 35 feet above the garage, basically, which is effectively for most developments in Highland Beach about 46 feet. So we're here today to ask for, if you want to call it a variance or an exception to our current settlement agreement that will allow for us to match current Highland Beach height standards. So that's one request. The second request is a bit of a surprise to probably everybody here and us that we discovered recently. So we pulled our building permits and we're advancing our construction of the site even at the 40 feet. We've discovered that we have a bit of a property line problem with our neighbor Boca Highlands. We tried to resolve it amongst ourselves, but haven't been able to do that. We believe we own about 25 or 20 feet there, and I believe that they own 20 feet there. Our settlement agreement with the town includes this disputed 20 feet. Our building permits include these 20 feet. We have a building on the 20 feet. So we're asking the town if they can give us an extension of time to our settlement agreement to allow for enough time for us to work things out with Boca Highland, either amicably or through a court mandated process. So that's my request for the Altavilla development. And I'm happy to come back up to talk about the other one. I'm sure everybody wants to talk about the Altavilla one.
I think you should go ahead and do everything at one time. Yeah,
Okay.
do everything at one time.
Sure.
All your items, go ahead and discuss it now.
Sure, and I'm happy to come back up if you have any other questions as well. Okay, so then on the east side, we have my mom's house. I was born there. I grew up there. She's been there for 52 years. I know that this agreement has been on our books for quite a long time. And, you know, as much as we all like to be ready for deadlines as they approach, sometimes we're not. And she's not ready to bulldoze down her house. So she won't stand up here and ask you guys for an extension. Sorry. She won't ask you for an extension on her house because she's too proud. I'm here to ask for that extension so that I don't force her to move out of the house. She'd like to stay there a little bit longer. I'm asking for a 10-year extension there to allow her to stay a little bit longer in the place. She has a lot of memories there, and so I don't think it really costs the town anything to just grant her a 10-year extension to stay in the house a little bit longer. So I'd like to view both separately, but that's her request on the east side.
And those are all the items.
Those are all the items.
Okay, okay. What's that? Oh, well, hold on.
Okay.
So, so this is a presentation, but I guess I'm recommending that we take public comments at this time since,
We'll
I
hold the
think,
questions back.
no, maybe go ahead and ask your questions now and then, we'll have public comments after your questions. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm more concerned, without the extension, what would be the next step
On which parcel? The
for
west-
yourself? As far as I understand the height,
Mhm.
and item 2, where you said you need an extension.
Yes.
Without that extension, where does that put you?
Just in a standard building permit process, as I understand it, I'd be in a standard building permit process, to either build as is, with the permits that we have on disputed land or, extensions to those permits pursuant to statute. There's probably a variety of different steps that could take place in the absence of an extension to the formal settlement agreement, but, that's probably where we're at.
Okay, I'd be curious to hear from the community what their objection to the extension is, but I'll wait to hear that.
Okay.
Any other
Right.
questions
I
before?
got
Okay,
a question. On the disputed 20 feet, has there been any mediation? Has there been any attempt for both parties, from your point of view, to talk about it and see if they can come to a solution?
Yeah, and we've had some great chats with the representatives of the community. It's been some good faith discussions, and unfortunately, in life, sometimes you just don't agree, right? So yes, we have had lots of them, but just have not been able to resolve them
Has
amongst
there been
ourselves.
any formal mediation?
No, not formal mediation. No.
Thank you.
Yeah, we haven't even started any kind of litigation yet, but, and that may not even be necessary. We may still be able to work it out. I'm not saying that that's happened yet, but I'm just giving ourselves enough runway to anticipate if that does happen.
I do have some questions, Cam.
Okay.
With respect to the 20 feet,
Yes,
now you've had this property, how long? When did you take title?
we've had it,
Family.
well, geez, my father probably in the 70s, and then you want a little bit of a history on it. I actually have a map here that can help you kind of identify. Do you want me to hand it up?
No.
No,
I mean,
okay,
if you
so.
don't have a ready number. I mean, I know this is as a result, you're here before the commission because this is a result of a settlement agreement. This is not a variance that you're coming clean. you
Right.
know.
Yep.
So there are other considerations and other laws that govern. But this is, what was 1995, the agreement?
Yeah, so we've owned the property. So this particular disputed 20 feet, we had a property dispute with the developer of Boca Highland in 1982. And we had a quit claim deed to each other. We gave him 20 feet and he gave us these 20 feet. And that was the settlement, and we have a deed for it. So that happened. And then look, I'm not a lawyer, but this is kind of how I understand the story. In 1989, it looks like he just sold it off again to someone else.
So you've had legal counsel throughout, I would assume. Your family has had legal.
Yes, ma'am.
counsel, Correct?
Yeah.
And one would assume that you would have reason to check the title.
Gosh, no, we've never had a reason to check title. In fact, we have a settlement agreement with the town of Highland Beach that includes this title, that includes this 20 feet. Our settlement with you includes the 20 feet. Our building permit includes the 20 feet. Our unity of title includes the 20 feet.
But we are not involved in that dispute, nor the designation of the 20 feet on or off. We know what you represented, the town, in the litigation. And you did have counsel again when you appeared with your mother before the county commission
Yes,
relative to the parking.
yes, ma'am.
space. Is that right?
Yep.
Too?
Yeah.
Okay. With respect to the height, now you're not seeking to just put aside this agreement, let's forget about it, let's tear it up, and let's start from scratch and take advantage of all the zoning and setbacks, et cetera, correct? You're picking out just the height from this.
I was trying to be as surgical as I could, yes, and I can, yes, ma'am.
Why should the town do this? Why should they give you a benefit
Yeah.
that would not otherwise inure to the other residents, the other owners?
That's a great question. So when we developed the settlement agreement back in the day, building standards were slightly different. Market expectations were different, ceiling heights were different. So we didn't anticipate waiting this long. And then here we are today saying, oh my gosh, we can still build 3 stories, but the ceilings will be 8 feet tall and in some places 7. I don't think that's a marketable product in Highland Beach. So in order to achieve, I don't want to call it a greater density, but from your perspective, you're going to miss out, if you want to call it, what do you get? What I think you're losing if you don't grant the variance is a significant tax base increase at 0 cost to the town. Because we will be able to build an entire other story.
But you can build even the exact number of units pursuant to the agreement. It just wouldn't be at the height that you would like, correct?
We'd have to make a massive reconfiguration of the site. Who knows what it might look like, but you're correct. We can still build 9 units today if we make them smaller, for example. We could. I'm not asking for a unit increase at all. I'm literally just asking for a height increase. I could squeeze 9 units if I made them smaller or we did something else, but we're so pod invested in the design and the building permit process. Those are expensive processes, so it's too costly for us to redesign the whole building.
So it would be a difference for you, bottom line would be just in the buyer's cost, the price that you would obtain, whether you would, I don't know how much you contemplated selling the units for, but you'd still have the 9 units, 8 units, 7 units, but certainly as many as the request was made and granted in a costly litigation, I may say.
Yeah.
Town incurred quite a bit
Yep.
of legal fees.
That's correct. It would still be 9 units. I'm not asking for more units. I'm just asking for essentially higher ceiling heights.
Now, if we did grant that height, and can you address how that would impact your belief on how that would impact your immediate neighbors?
Sure. I would describe it as minimal, in our opinion, our humble opinion. Our neighbor literally adjacent to us has permission to build an unlimited height of a building. And our neighbor is going to propose to build a 46-foot building and we're at 40 feet. So the impact is already consistent with what's going on literally adjacent to our site. So I don't see a large impact. Again, that's very selfish. And if you want to look at it from my own perspective, I think it's just different than what we have, but not different from what this town permits currently. So it's an expectation management exercise, not an impact.
All right. Moving to the residence property on the ocean.
Okay, yes.
Your mother was before the commission, I believe it was in 2023, requesting the 10-year extension, and that was denied. You're aware of that?
I'd have to go back. Did she ask for a 10-year extension back then?
I believe you were with her. Were you not?
I thought you were debating something that we didn't yet agree to. Are you talking about the agreement regarding the park and?
No, now I'm talking about the residents. You wanted a 10-year extension on building in accordance with the agreement.
Okay, I just don't recall. I'm sorry.
So that was, in fact, I believe it was 2023.
Okay.
Now, with respect to that property, is it your understanding that your mother doesn't have to? I mean, she could remain in the house and still build the rest of the design property in accordance with that settlement agreement. Are you aware of that?
I don't know what you mean. We have,
She doesn't have to move. She could stay there.
oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
No.
You don't have to move, but then she would lose the settlement agreement if she didn't.
Well,
build
she
up the-
could still construct the other, I believe it was a phased project.
Okay.
All right. Is there a particular reason, your mother, you said, is not going to address us. Are you aware of any reason for a change of circumstances between 2023 and today with regard to the request for the 10-year extension?
Again, I don't remember exactly what you're referring to in 2023. If I think I remember it, we might remember it slightly differently, but no, nothing has changed since 2023. And my mom is still residing in the place. The rationale for the extension would have been the same.
Okay. That,
But if
I-
you're saying that she could, maybe phase it and not maybe necessarily bulldoze down the house and not lose the permissions, that sounds great. Like, that would also work.
Do you have legal counsel advising you on that property as well?
Oh, yeah, we have legal counsel.
I'll pass now. I may have other questions
Okay.
afterwards.
I just have two quick questions. So Cam, you're not asking for extension on the west side at all, just the east side?
I'm asking for both. So I'm asking for 10 on the east side, so my mom doesn't have to bulldoze down the house. But Ms. Goldberg has come up with perhaps an alternative solution. I don't know, but maybe we'd have to discuss it with the building official as it relates to that. But no, we are requesting also a 5-year extension on the west side to deal with the property boundary dispute with Boca Highland. We have a permit to build over there in Boca Highland. We just have a property boundary dispute. So I don't want to go too far and then something happens in a court proceeding and we have to undo everything, right?
Yeah, actually, my second question would probably be for Jeff, can they build if there's a property dispute on that?
There is no property dispute.
I mean, if they don't own that property, is that come up? Or you want,
No. Unless there's some sort of court order that they can't build, they can build. Unless it's somehow encumbered or the court just determines that they cannot build, they can build. I mean, there's a dispute, yes, but it doesn't prevent them from going forward unless the party with whom they're in a dispute obtains some sort of injunctive relief preventing them from moving forward. If that answers your question.
okay. I'm good.
I don't have any additional questions. I'd like to hear the public comment. Go ahead.
So just quickly, I did forward Len's memorandum from 23 just to kind of what the process is, just so we all know and transparently that you can consider this. We just have to be mindful to follow a matching process under 3010, which is how we got to the settlement agreement, just to keep it clean, transparent, and public.
Master,
So
we can
that's-
consider what again? We can consider
There are requests by the Milani family. You can consider them. You have the
both
ability.
the extensions, both extensions plus.
You can do that.
Okay.
But again, you'll notice a quite extensive discussion here. And I know we talked about it in 23, is that the settlement agreement was drafted in the public's interest and in the best interest of the residents and the citizens. So traditionally, you would see some type of exchange of benefit. And I believe Ms. Goldberg was talking to that. What is that exchange to retain or preserve, or in your discussion with the public, determine it's in the best interest? We just want to make sure we make that clear that we're preserving that public interest element of a settlement agreement, which is how we got to this point. And also just, careful that if we do make any modifications, we are open to legal challenges by those that during the process make comments. They preserve their right to challenge any type of modification you should make. So just be mindful of it. I sent it to you guys just so you have it. It's the same one from 23, just so we follow that same process.
And the benefit that Cam brought out was a tax benefit, if I'm clear.
What?
Well, yes,
I mean, that's what
talked
came
about
out
a tax
from
benefit.
Cam.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we just, just be mindful of keeping that public interest in the back of your mind as you move forward in the discussions. So what if you are compelled, we've preserved or made those statements that public interest is protected in the residents and citizens. So just that kind of is the overarching elements we want to make sure we preserve moving forward. And then it also provides the best protection should a legal challenge be filed. So we just want to follow those processes. And then, Mayor, if you set a time for the public comments, like 3 minutes.
Minutes, I think
Okay.
is, would be sufficient.
Okay.
So I'd like to open it up for, thank you very much. And we'll call you up if we need to again, Mr. Malani. Thank you very much. I see Maggie's hand first, and then I'll go to you. State your name before you do your comments, please. Thank you.
Maggie Chapelier, Taylor Drive, resident of Highland Beach since 1985. Before many of you wonderful people that live in this town, Highland Beach was always a small community that worked well together. I enjoy the fact that Mrs. Malani is here. She's a wonderful resident of Highland Beach, and there's going to be a park named after their family, which has been contentious, but I really appreciate the park. The land that her family agreed to sell at market value to the Palm Beach County. I made some notes as Cam was talking. I am a developer as well. My husband and I, we've been developing for over 30 years. So I have a few comments that maybe someone can piggyback on this. Number one, I did a PAPA search and clearly it says that the parcel in question is owned by Boca Highlands. And I don't think the town should get embroiled in that matter. But if there was a mistake, I'm on Cam's side that if he was supposed to get it and he can legally prove it, leave the town out of it. We don't need any more legal fees. The other thing is the mother's house. I believe that what they have right now is they can build 2 houses on the ocean plus a little villa, a little small house. He should move forward with building his mother the little villa. And while she's living there, they can tear down the house and follow what they set out to do back in the 90s. So the argument that I have to get my mother out of there doesn't hunt with me. So go ahead, build the house for your mother. I think you could make it ADA compliant and help her out. It does have to come up to law and ordinance laws, you know, I don't know if it's a flood zone or whatever, but he should take that into consideration, whatever the code is. I'm also very concerned about pervious surfaces in Highland Beach, and we'll get to that when we go to the west side of the property. So why should you have more height on the ocean? It's going to kill the views of all the people on the west side. I wouldn't want it. I think that would be detrimental to your neighbors. Yes, I agree, Cam, that taller ceilings are all the rage, but I don't know. I don't know what you have in your settlement agreement. As a developer, one of the due diligence things I always do is I check to see, do I own this property? So PAPA, property search, I just did it and saw your properties. You should try to make a deal with your next door neighbor. I think they're entitled to 2 townhouses. Just put those together and you'll get more density. Your neighbors north of you, that's what I recommend. I have a question for Cam. You think you could get $5-6 billion a unit? You will not, because you have no views. You're going to be crammed and you're not going to have much in the terms of amenities unless Boca Highlands is kind enough to let you under their beach club. Now, you could take your mother's property and you could cut an easement down so that people can go to the beach. That's an alternative. I was looking at all this. I'm trying to help you figure this out. You keep saying you have 9 townhouses, but according to what I've read, you only have 7. I don't know why you keep referring to 9. You have 7, according to what I've read. I could be wrong. I'm not representing you as a developer. I'm just giving you some ideas. If I were me, I would start a new agreement if they won't give you the extension. Now, if I lived at Boca Highlands, I would definitely not give you the extension because you're just going to sue me. So, but you could negotiate them for that little piece you want to add a little more towards where their pool is. They have some pools, tennis court, where their road is. I understand they're not going to build those tall buildings you were talking about. So that argument's been discussed. I do want to benefit the people of Highland Beach at all costs, and your mother is one, and I look out for your mother, believe it or not. It's only fair that the town looks at both sides of the equation. But so far, I'm thinking about the Boca people, because you're going to do well. You're going to get 7 townhouses in this beautiful community. The ceiling height we discussed, the tax basement argument that Doug doesn't hunt. Okay, that's such a small thing. You're never gonna get $5-6 million. Can I continue, please? I just have a few
Like
more.
30 seconds more, because we've
Okay.
got a lot of people who
Uh,
want to.
Okay, if you add more square feet, you're just gonna cram this development, and I wouldn't do that. I didn't know the fact that he was causing us legal fees. You leave the town out of it, just work it out with Boca Highlands. The height will impact your neighbors. Did I ask you the question, are you planning on flipping this? That's what I
Well-
keep
well, thank-
thinking, that you're
thank you.
trying to get the most density you can get.
Thank you,
can
Maggie.
flip it.
Thank you, Maggie.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you so much. Evelyn, you want to come on up?
Yes. Evelyn David, 4740 South Ocean Boulevard. Okay, where to start? The settlement agreement was reached after a long, nasty lawsuit that cost the town a lot of money. And it was signed in 1995 and it ran for 30 years. It's already 31. If you can't build it in 30 years, why would we think another 5 years is going to make any difference? Let's start with that. And then we can go to the 40 feet as opposed to 46. Well, the 40 feet in that agreement was at ground level. Now they're looking for 46 feet, starting at the first floor and putting a garage underneath. That's not a 6-foot difference. That's probably a 16-foot difference. So I think we need to be very clear about that. The agreement doesn't say from the first floor above the garage, it says from the ground. Yes, the ground has to be filled in, so it's not below par, but it was from the ground. 8-foot ceilings. Well, over 50% of this town has 8-foot ceilings. If people didn't want an 8-foot ceiling, we wouldn't sell another condo in most buildings. So that's a fallacious argument as far as I'm concerned, and I hope you agree. All right. They did ask for 5-year extensions at least twice before this that I can remember. And both times they were told no. And one of the really big reasons was there was an ask, but there wasn't a give. And if you give them something without getting something valuable in return, you can be charged with spot zoning. You are giving her something no one else could get. You're not allowed to doubt. If you try, don't be up to lawsuits. Because the next builder that comes in, and there are a couple of empty lots that will have builders, they're going to want the same kind of things. They're not going to want to be held to current zoning. They want to amend that agreement with the settlement agreement. I mean, understand that when you settle a lawsuit, it's very different than just somebody coming in and asking for an exception. It's a whole different animal. But that agreement gives them way more than just limiting the height. The benefits of that agreement are 0 lot lines. They can build right up against the fence to the next property over. It gives them 10 feet from the street as opposed to a bigger setback. Within the community itself, there are very few setbacks. There's a lot of benefits. If they want to open that agreement up, I would open it up and say, you want to go by current code? Fine. Current code. All of it. Not just one piece, because that one piece benefits you. But it doesn't benefit the town. It doesn't benefit the people in this town. I saw a rendering that supposedly came from the Milanis that is horrible, to put it in a word, because it's like this big block. Current code, for the past several times it's been amended, is going for less density, not more. And to have this big block, to be fair, nothing against the Bronx, but it looks like a project in the Bronx, with a garage underneath is going to block views of the neighbors behind them. It's going to put this massive thing and a garage underneath. That's way beyond anything that our code currently envisions. 10 extra years on the other side. She doesn't have to leave. She doesn't. She can stay there. Nobody is saying you have to leave. Now, it may be that under the settlement agreement, if they don't start building now, because that's also subject to the 30 years, because it was part of the same agreement, she may lose some rights under it. Well, that's a trade-off. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. Eve?
I'm Eve Rosen, and I live in Boca Highland. And I just want to say what she said. But additionally, let's be clear. You have a request in front of you, which is a very recent request for a timed agreement requiring action by the Milanis, now asking for 5 years of an extension on the West Side development. To say that the dispute about the 20 feet is most important and recent is a little bit of a misstatement, as there were discussions about that 20 feet several years ago with the late Doug Hillman, and those discussions sort of petered out, if you will. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use petered. But the point is, then the discussions were revived very recently as the time frame for putting shovels into the ground to do that development became near to it. So again, what is in the public interest? The public negotiated this agreement 30 years ago with timeframes which seemed extraordinarily reasonable, with a lot of deference to them, to the Milanis, in terms of zoning requirements. And now asking for a change only in one zoning requirement, height, without any change with respect to setbacks, density, or any other factor that's in that agreement, doesn't seem to be in the public interest. So with that said, I think Evelyn stated an awful lot of items that are absolutely relevant, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come up and make a comment? Go ahead. Please state your name before your comment.
Marvin Silver, resident of the beautiful town of Boca Highlands. Let's keep it beautiful. The zoning requirements that people fought for, let's keep that going. Let's not change them, and let's make sure that all agreements going forward follow those requirements to keep our town beautiful and at a density that is also wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Rosen. That's my wife, Eve. I would just like to talk about the 20-foot portion of ground, the so-called disputed. As my wife said, we had gone through this before with them, and they never said they owned that piece of land. They never claimed to own it. They never paid any taxes on it. They never maintained the ground. It was a nice green space, and it was up until a couple of weeks ago. And what Cam neglected to tell you was they covered that whole area with black earth. So now all that grass, all that green space is black, and it's an eyesore. And whatever happened to the idea of having green space? Isn't the town supporting that? I always thought they did. So now we have the issue
of granting an extension to the company that owns that land, the so-called Milani West Side. And I say we should not do it because they have not been good citizens of Highland Beach. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other comments? Anyone else want to come up and say anything? No? No? Okay, hearing none. Any additional comments from the commission?
Yes, I have a comment. In my business career, I really believed in when growth stops, decay begins. It's been something I've lived by my entire life. And I've read several of the letters that are here where it says we have too much construction going on in Highland Beach. I've read it. I understand it. If that was truly the case, those of us that are going through certification in all the buildings could debate that topic. And when we drive into the town and we see 3 miles of paradise, I wish the authors of that quote could be here today. I get it. I truly understand the situation as far as the height. I really do. Where I'm challenged right now is on the extension. And it could be lack of knowledge, understanding, but I'm challenged by that because my history of working with developers has always been, we need a little bit more time, we need a little bit more time, and there's nothing new about that, and I think Maggie said that very, very well. But where I'm challenged right now is, why wouldn't I give a 5-year extension? And I've heard the history and everything else, but looking at the property, looking at Highland Beach right now, looking at what's left in Highland Beach, and in the future, over the next 10 years, I can see knockdowns because the amount of land available is really small. So as a commissioner who's looking at the community as a whole, I don't live in Boca Highlands. I have many friends in Boca Highlands, so I'm not talking as a resident. But as someone who's looking at the community as a whole, I am challenged by, why wouldn't I try to work this out? And I understand past history, but I didn't live through it. So that's where I'm really challenged. And I just want to make that point that right now I'm challenged by not giving the 5-year extension. And I'll pass it on to my other commissioners.
Many letters, many comments were made. Some here today, many, many more through emails to the town. That's very important for us here on the commission because we represent you, we represent the public, we represent Highland Beach. With regard, I just want to clarify, with regard to the east side, it's my understanding that the request is once again 10 years, not 5, extension. There has been 30 years now. The request, the application was made several years ago, and we had this very discussion. And we had the discussion that there didn't appear to be any benefit to the public. There was no consideration, as aptly stated by Evelyn. And this is a contract. This is a contract reached through litigation, costly, but everyone had lawyers. And it was, I assume I wasn't involved, a hot topic for a while, and lots of work went into this agreement, lots of work. Let me say today also that, of course, any changes, you know, an extension, let's say on the east side of 10 years, that change through an agreement, a mutual signed agreement, would run with title. Effectively, anyone that would take title thereafter could be a sale the next day. We have no control over what happens after it leaves our offices. So someone else would have the benefit of another 10 years to sit there and have that authority under that agreement. That was not contemplated. That is not a desire. There's not a desire that I, as a commissioner, would want for the town, that ambiguity, uncertainty. And similarly on the other property, any extension granted would assumedly run with title. But with respect to these changes, and it's very apt, it would be considered, if there's no consideration, a spot zoning. That would be challenged, and we would lose after costly litigation. So the town does not want to be involved in any more litigation with respect to this. I think that as far as the home, from what I can see, if 3 years ago a request was asked, it was denied, to my knowledge, there's no construction, no change has taken effect. Except today, coming in again for the very same relief, without being forthcoming and offering what is the benefit that the town will have? What is the benefit that you, the people of this town, will have by granting the 10 more years? I don't see it. There's also the benefit that there is a residence there. They can be occupied. I assume they are occupied. So there are many options. They can continue with the agreement, do whatever they choose to do. She can stay in the home. I don't need to get into the particulars, but it doesn't seem to be dire circumstances, emergency circumstances, no benefit to the town. So I would decline that application with respect to that. With respect to the height, again, in the time, with the height, why that? It could be anything to pick an agreement apart. Now I want this, now I want that. And the benefit, there's a great benefit to the family, to the owners. But again, there is no consideration for that. It's just a desire to change an agreement. So I would decline that as well.
Yeah, and also back in 19, that Evelyn was saying, I mean, that was brought up in 19. We brought it up in 23. Matter of fact, Evelyn was on the board then. We all went through it. I mean, I feel sorry that Miss Malani can't live there, but maybe Maggie had some good ideas. Maybe she could do that. The 4 feet, I mean, I got an 8-foot ceiling, and I'm very happy with my ceilings there. So, but I can't see anything. I mean, we're up here, we listen to all the residents, and I hate to say it, but all the residents were against this, and we're your voice. So I'm along with that. There's nothing in public interest to open this up again.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I have nothing to add to those comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with what the commissioners have said so far. It does seem, there were some comments we received that were in favor of adopting the request, but I'd say the overwhelming majority of what I've seen is to reject any request for any change. For me, what's critically important is that we have the settlement agreement that was passed down by the courts, and I personally have no appetite to open that up and subject the town to any additional legal fees. I like the clear, cut and dry of the current settlement agreement that we have right now. I don't want to discuss the merits or, whatever of the settlement agreement. To me, it's just pretty black and white. We have the settlement agreement, and there clearly is, in my opinion, no benefit to the town to try to open that up again. If anything, it's to the detriment of the town. So I am very much in favor, keeping in line with what the prior commission decisions have been, which is not to make any changes and to continue with the current settlement agreement as was decided by the courts 30 years ago. So that's my opinion. Go ahead.
I just had one other comment. I would also strongly encourage mediation on the disputed 20-foot space in order to solve that issue and hopefully come to an agreement between the two parties so everyone can move forward.
Yeah, good point. So do we have consensus?
Well, it appears so.
Do we?
I would have a question for Len.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
David's recommendation, Commissioner Stern's recommendation as far as mediation, would that take an extension or can that just be done in the normal course of business?
That could be done in the normal course of business.
Normal course of business.
And I think as some of the residents said, it's not the town of Highland Beach's issue. There's an issue between two private parties. And so if the consensus of the commission is to just leave it, then there's no action you have to take. If the consensus or a majority of the commission did want to entertain a modification, then we initiate the process. But if the consensus, if there's not a motion to do that, then the agreement will stand as it is.
Are we good? Are we good? I'm looking at you, Commissioner Chibnazzi, because you said you had, you're struggling with.
I think Dawn's comments, I think we have to listen, we work for the community.
Right.
We work for the community. Whatever our personal opinions are, our feelings are, we work for the community. And I think it's obvious by the comments that are being made, the direction that we have to take.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and sharing your opinions and feedback and interpretations. It really, that's how we make this work. So we really appreciate everyone coming out. So, yep. So I think the consensus is to stay with the settlement. Yeah.
We did receive 29 emails and public comments, and 26 were opposed
Okay.
to what was presented.
Okay. Thank you very much. That helps. That count helps for sure. Okay. So we can move on. Thank you very much, everyone. Moving on to item C, 2026 Hurricane Preparedness Presentation by Fire Chief Glenn Joseph.
Afternoon, everybody. Mayor.
Hey,
Vice
Chief.
Mayor, Commissioners, Glenn Joseph, Fire Rescue. We just wanted to give a quick update on the hurricane season for 2026 and let you know or remind you to take steps to prepare. Is it? Yes. I'll speak louder, I guess. My Barry Manilow voice. I mean, Barry Manilow. Barry White.
It's a little early.
Either way.
It's a good day. It's a good day. Anyway, according to the National Weather Service, we are expecting a lighter than normal hurricane season this year,
Excellent.
primarily because there are some issues with the weather that would make storms that occur in the Atlantic less powerful. Although they're still expecting 3 major storms in this season, which runs from June 1st to November. So it only takes one bad storm to make us have a miserable hurricane season. So we should always prepare for the worst. So again, just a couple reminders some of the risks. We usually measure hurricanes based on wind speed, but as of the last few years, most of the fatalities have come from water type events, either surge or freshwater flooding or rip currents. We've seen a little bit of that in the last few months here as well. So we want to take precautions and preparations to make sure that, we look at the risks and prepare for it in a way that's reasonable and makes sense. So we are in an evacuation zone. Anytime there's a category 2 or above, we have to evacuate the island, and it's a mandatory evacuation. Of course, we're not going to drag you out of your house, but we'll certainly strongly recommend that you not be on the island during a storm of that magnitude, because we will be gone. The police will be gone. The fire will be gone. Your water will probably be turned off. Power will be no longer available. Elevators. So it's in your best interest to make plans now, because the height of our season is between July and September, October. That's when we usually get our worst storms. So make those recommendations now. Now, I have worked storm shelters in the past. over the years. I've been at this for a little bit. And it's not really the place that somebody living in 3 miles of paradise would want to ride out a storm. It's not exactly the Taj or the Ritz. So if you are an alternative plan, meaning make a friend with somebody on the mainland that has a nice house and will accommodate you and your pets, because it's usually a better experience all override. You know, you could have a hurricane party and commune. But I've been in shelters. I've worked many shelters, and it's not really a place. Think I-95 at rush hour, people going in and out and, you know, just annoying you to death. So make plans that if you are going to, since you have to evacuate, that you have a place that is, you know, comfortable for you.
Do you have any room, chief?
On the roof. I have plenty of room, and if somebody needs to stay with me, by all means, we'll pull the air mattresses out, we'll make it happen. We'll keep you posted through the Community Connect, if you've already signed up for that, and it's just a QR code. Sign your family up, and if you have any special needs, will let us know that. Also Code Red, which everybody I hope is signed up for. And you should also get a battery-powered hurricane weather radio to give updates, because the TV might not work, your internet might be down, so the radio is always the last good choice for getting good information. If you are going to need to go to a shelter and you have special needs, for instance, you're diabetic or you're a dialysis patient or you are mobility challenged, then you need to make arrangements for that ahead of time. And in the hurricane guide, which has just been updated for 2026, and the city clerk's going to have that available for you, the clerk's office, all the numbers are in there, so you could actually register ahead of time. They'll even pick you up. But again, you must register, and they'll pick you up ahead of the storm to take you to wherever you need to go. So always make that plan. If you have pets, there are only special shelters that allow pets. You also have to pre-register for those as well. So if you have a pet and you can't find a good friend, I strongly encourage you to find a good friend on the mainland that will accommodate you and your pets. Then by all means, make that telephone call, and they will come, will help in the last minute, but there's a lot of people here. We will not be able to transport everybody that may need help. Securing your home, you know, the usual. Should test your shutters. If you have shutters now, make sure your shutters are working, oiled, greased, or the parts. You don't want to be looking for bolts at Lowe's, you know, when the storm is bearing down on us. Okay, so have somebody come over, practice your shutters, operate the shutters, oil them up, make sure they're working well, so you can do it very quickly. If you have an electric car, okay, so we've seen what happened on the West Coast with electric cars from storm surge. So they'll probably want to relocate those somewhere on high ground. So I was talking to somebody from Punta Gorda at the hurricane conference just 2 weeks ago. And they said they had 27 fires, house fires, after the latest storm last year. 27. 7 of them were caused by electric cars that were left in the garage and they were inundated with water. And 17 were caused by, guess what? Power tool batteries. Yeah. So if they get wet and they sit, they look good, but then they short out and then they'll cause a fire. So if you have chargeable electronic equipment, either wrap it in plastic and tape it down and put it high up, remove it. But if you come home and your stuff's been wet, don't leave it in the house. Take it outside, put it in the yard, at least 20 feet away from the house. That way, if it catches on fire, it's not going to burn the house down. So just little things like that will help us keep it safe throughout the storm season. When you're returning home, the police are going to block access until you get the all clear, which means the police department and the fire department will go through every road, every alley, and make sure the trees are not in the way, no power lines down, there's no flooding, you know, and then they'll do the all clear. You will need ID to get back on the island. So if you have to evacuate, then by all means, bring ID with you. You know, secure your documents, insurance papers, and all in a safe place you could access them. Better yet, take pictures of all of your valuables in the home. Television, put the serial numbers down. There's some apps right now, you can take a picture, put the serial number, and it archives all that stuff for you. So if you have an emergency in the house, water damage or storm damage, you could actually be able to accurately quote what your stuff costs, so you could get a good settlement.
The seniors, from our experience last time, the seniors who stay in the building, we have several that would stay in the building. What is the process in that?
We will strongly encourage them to not be in the building, because I told you, number one, the police is not going to be here. We're going to evacuate. I'm going to take all the fire trucks off this because they cost a lot of money. Put them on the mainland and secure them so that we don't damage them. We will come in after the storm has passed. And if you are in Community Connect and you let us know that you're not going to leave, then we're the first people we'll check on will be you. Anybody that stayed over time, we'll check on you first. But that may be, depending on the severity of the storm, it may be 12 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, and depending on how much damage and access and all that stuff. So we certainly would strongly encourage you that if you are planning on not, or you're mobility challenged, is to have a plan. And then call us up. We'll help you make that plan, but certainly you need to have a plan to not be here during the storm.
Are you finished?
Okay.
I have a question. Generators,
Okay.
do they run a risk?
Well, the generators may be inundated depending on the storm. So generally, most buildings, and I don't make the rules for your building, but most buildings will turn them off. You know, because during the storm, because there'll be nobody here. There's nobody. So if you are in a floodplain and flood zone, if you keep the generator running during the storm and it gets inundated with water, it's going to
That's the
kill the
problem.
generator.
All right, so you mentioned batteries. So I have a little vacuum cleaner. You take it off. I mean, I don't know anything. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's ionized or I have no idea.
Lithium ion, you mean?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Is that?
No,
is that-
if you're in the first floor, it may get wet, or you may have a window break and then wet.
Yeah.
I would wrap it in a trash can, tip it down nicely, and put it higher up. You know, so just put it above. That way, it's not going to get wet if the windows break or if you get flood tides coming through, storm surge.
Now, I know my condominium, they sent around hurricane instructions. I don't know if anyone read them or unless they just trashed
You
it.
know,
But is it, your booklet is very well presented, very easy to read, attractive. Is there a possibility either we could get it online or hard copy?
it will be. It'll be on the
will be?
website. You can
And then we
download the
can
PDF.
Distribute it again.
And you'll have hard copies at the city clerk's office. So you
Okay.
just pick up copies there. If you need copies and you can't find one, give me a call directly. Everybody has my number. I will print one up and bring it to your house.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Chief, I got a question. You're always going to get that one person that will not go.
There'll be more than one, but there
So
usually is.
Many.
do we kind of tell you in advance? Because I think Craig said that they would check when they come back. They'll check on those people first
Correct.
when they come back. So the same thing with you. We'll
Right. Right, right, right. We'll usually do that. What we do is we do a task force. We'll do LEO, a law enforcement officer, fire rescue in the truck, and then we'll go to and check on each individual property. So it'll be one of each. And then you could, I hate to give you an option, but go on, your Community Connect and let us know through the Community Connect that you will be riding at the storm at home. We'll check those first and see if anybody's there, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
But on the other hand, if your HOA president or your community president knows of certain people that are mobility challenged that will not leave, make sure you let us know. So let your president know to let us know at fire and police, and then we'll know to check on them before we leave and check on them right after we get back.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. very
Anything else?
much.
Okay,
No,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
The
safe,
manual's
lucky
great.
year.
Yes.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, please, please. So next item is public comments. Any additional public comments? Okay, seeing none, moving on to ordinances. We have a proposed ordinance, an ordinance of, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, did not. Please state your name.
David Newman. We live in the townhouses of Highland Beach. We've been there for about 7 or 8 years. There's 3 issues that I want to address briefly. One is the leak blowers, which has been raised.
You may want to get closer to the mic, David.
The leak blower issue of in California, and it's been adopted in other parts of the country. And it's been a real boom for the people that are using the leak blower. We think about the issue of the expenses or whatever, but having this loud gas powered vehicle right next to the head is not nice. It seems kind of anachronistic really in terms of treating people differently. And you raised this before the commission takes it up, and I don't know what happens.
Well, I could comment. They made it illegal, right? It's
It's,
illegal for us to
it's
do any
preempted.
limitations on, it's illegal for us to disallow gas blowers, the
Yeah,
Florida.
state statute was passed and said this local governments are no longer able to regulate leaf blowers, so we're not allowed to pass any regulations. So the legislator would have to change their mind before we can tackle it.
Second issue was the intersection of US 1 and Lincoln. I don't know, right now it's not a problem. And if you're going to Lincoln somewhere, still is nice and convenient, you just go up to the light and wait a minute, or just go through to the left and everything is fine. But during the season, no one's about it. And it's absolutely unnecessary. It's frustrating because it didn't cost anything to alleviate the problem. And yet the commission doesn't do anything about it. I raised this question before. But of course, this is generally big. I don't know, the commission, I'm speaking in terms of the people in Delaware Beach. An issue with the fire department, or is it, I called, spoke to someone in the hall. It's not our problem, it's Delaware Beach. But the majority of the people going north, and already part of this people are going to be. So it's just a matter of cooperating with the neighborhood community. It's very easily alleviated by just making the right turn and have an arrow so you can turn off and look for them. And follow in the summer. So I don't know, I'll be happy to work with someone in the commission. But I just don't know why every season it's always a 10 or 15 minute wait. That's like not a 2 or 3 minute wait, it's like a 10 or 15 minute wait. And it's we solve without any work to go spend. So why is this going on? Why is this being going on for so long?
So this is you making a public comment where this is not banter back and forth. So you are just stating your public comment and you're running out of time.
Sarcasm. I'm bad at sarcasm, but it's still really good. It's kind of that sort of sarcasm. But I think our community, the beach, needs to address the issue. It's getting worse and worse. Literally, the town can haul away some of this, and the boats can go by and take some of this, but it's, I mean, we're not, I haven't been in the ocean in weeks. I go to the beach and clean the beach. It's not fun to clean the beach, of course, because all the sarcasm going through the floats and the climbing through the old hills and the quicksand and whatever. Quick sarcasm. So it would be something for the commission to consider doing something different.
You know, Mayor,
Thank you for your comment.
I'm not sure what he's looking at, but I know that when I go out to the beach, this equipment there, digging it up, burying, and I'm not sure how far down the beach that goes. But we don't have the problem as far as the area that we're in at the Coronado, because that whole area all the way past where Judy lives, it's very, very clean. They take care of it at least once a week. Now, I'm not sure who's paying for that, Marshall. I know we're not at the Coronado.
Yeah, no, everybody.
Property by property.
Property
by
pay.
property.
Yeah,
Private property.
so you guys pay for it.
So it's coming out of the,
Yeah,
okay,
coming
because I
out,
haven't
yeah.
seen that.
This is nature.
Yep.
And we're
Yeah.
pretty clean.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to ordinances. We have a proposed ordinance, an ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 23 Signs and Advertising of the Town Code of Ordinances by amending Section 23-5 permitted signs to increase the maximum square footage of a permanent sign from 10 square feet to 32 square feet, to increase the maximum square footage of an ingress or egress sign from 3 square feet to 32 square feet, and by amending Section 23-8 appeals to provide an appeal process for granting an increase in the maximum square footage of a permanent sign, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability and codification, and providing for an effective date. Nice.
Hi,
Hello.
good afternoon. Ingrid Allen, Town Planner. I decided to approach this item as I did at the March 3rd, 2026 Town Commission meeting, which was to start off with a brief public hearing history on this. I provided that in your staff report. It was heard by the Town Commission twice. It's been to the Planning Board twice. So as I said, I'll just do just a very brief overview. If the commission recalls, this all came about as a result of a public comment that was made on November 4th of 2025. You had the president of the Board of Trustees for Villa Magna come up as a public comment and address their concerns about some signage that they want to put, or I should say new signage, permanent signage that they want to put along their frontage on A1A. They submitted plans to the town, but those plans show the sign too large. Those signs were too large in accordance with our town code. On December 2nd of 2025 at the commission meeting, you actually placed the item on the agenda so you all could discuss it further. You had some consensus and you had given some direction to the planning board. You asked them to consider appropriate standards for maximum sign size. How large is too large? Should larger condominiums have larger signs? You asked them to look at colors and illumination of signs, safety of pedestrians and roadway, including visibility and sight lines. You asked them to consider what is the right signage look for the town of Highland Beach, and also to consider an appeal or a variance process, and also look at other municipal codes. On January 8th of this year, the planning board made the following recommendations. They wanted to go ahead and increase the sign size using Boca Raton sign code as a reference. Now, in Boca's code, if you have 5 multifamily units or more, it's a 32 square foot sign. And if you have a minimum of 50 multifamily units, it's a 72 square foot sign. The board also recommended allowing for a variance procedure for a sign and adding a universal rule for all condos, regardless of the size of the condo, that any sign should fit in with the overall property in the building and use similar materials. Then on March 3rd of this year, the commission, you directed staff to go ahead and draft an ordinance. On the ordinance, which is on page 61 of your packets, it includes, and this is based on the direction from the commission, increasing the maximum size area of a sign, both for ingress and egress signs, as well as permanent signs, to 32 square feet. Now, the ingress and egress is currently 3 square feet. Permanent signs are at 10 square feet. You also asked us to add a process for an appeal, which would first be considered by the planning board. They would make a recommendation. They would be the advisory board, and then it would come to the commission for a final decision. Again, that would be for an appeal for a sign code. And then the other item that you all wanted to include in the ordinance was that if there is an appeal for an increase in the maximum square footage of a permanent sign, that can't exceed 72 square feet. So all of that is in the ordinance with the exception of one item, which was the planning board being the recommending board for a signed appeal. On page 55 of your packets, I provide a justification as to why staff went ahead and put the Board of Adjustment and Appeal as the advisory board rather than the planning board. I'll just go over that real quick. Currently, it's the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. They hear appeals of a decision, order, requirement, determination, or interpretation of a town official regarding the zoning code, which is chapter 30. The Board of Adjustment and Appeals currently hears and decides requests for zoning appeals and variances for new and existing single-family homes and existing multifamily units. And the Board of Adjustment and Appeals currently makes recommendations to the Town Commission on certain types of variance requests in the zoning code and the floodplain management requirements. So given we have these established provisions for appeals and variances that calls out the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, staff went ahead and just made that one change in the code. And I will state the obvious that the Board of Adjustment and Appeals has the word appeal in their name. So figured I'd mention that as well. On May 14th of this year, the planning board recommended approval of the ordinance, again, which is on page 61 of your packet. So the ordinance that's before you today is the exact same ordinance that the planning board reviewed and considered. Again, they recommended approval of that. And lastly, I looked in the building department. I mentioned this to the planning board to find the largest board that I could find, and this is the largest one, just to give you all a little bit of perspective on size. So we have a 12 square foot sign, obviously. So if you decide to continue the direction in which, you know, which you had indicated in your previous meetings, 32 square feet obviously would be a little bit less than this signage. And I'll be glad to address any questions that you might have.
Yeah, a lot more. This is 12, right?
Right, more, excuse me.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah,
Less?
yeah.
I'm sorry. Little less than three, yeah, a little less than
Three
Three
times,
times,
three
thank you.
times, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I do have a question on I don't remember saying anything about egress and ingress, but we're making it 32 square feet. And according to this nice booklet that Boca Magna gave us there, most of the main signs are 13 square feet, 10 square feet, 12 square feet. They're main signs. So we're making an egress sign twice as big as their main signs. And I think that's not proportional.
Again, that was the direction, you know, the commission, you wanted those three scenarios, and the three scenarios were the ingress and egress. Right, it's currently 3 square feet at 32. And then you wanted the permanent signs, whether it's on the principal structure, or if you have an intracoastal portion, you can have a permanent sign there at 10 square feet, which would go to 32. But if the commission is thinking differently on that, by all means, we're happy to revise the ordinance. But again, this was the direction that we got from. the
So I can
commission.
tell you why I thought that was a good idea.
What's
I can tell you why I thought that was a good idea. And that is because the direction from the planning board was to look at other municipalities as an example. And Boca Raton, I believe, has them all as the same size. And for me, I just thought, you know, why make the distinction ingress, egress means, I just thought, and make it larger than, you know, perhaps what anyone else would ever suggest. So I thought, so for me, the 32 feet at least covers what the request is, because they were requesting something smaller. And it follows what some of the other municipalities do. So that was my
I mean,
rationale.
if I was pulling out of a driveway and I seen a sign, this would be 5 feet longer, it could be 4 feet width, that blocked my vision going out. And
But aren't we saying it can be not to exceed?
not to
Right,
exceed.
not to exceed,
We're just giving the maximum.
right, the maximum.
So
And if they want
aesthetically,
bigger,
that
they have,
home-
yeah.
That condo board should act appropriately, you know.
I mean, I just think
Something
your
that's-
main sign should be the biggest, most, biggest sign for you to say, and the rest of them be a little bit proportional. That was my only.
Oh, but it
answer.
could be.
Because most of them you go down Boca, they're all proportionally smaller, all the
Mhm.
ingress and egress.
Now, if we do change and incorporate this ordinance, everything that only takes effect prospectively.
Right.
I have a question as to the permitting. Are all do you require all signs being permitted?
All signs require a permit unless it's a temporary sign, and you don't need a permit. There are some nuances there, but yeah, there's some sign, and when you look at the code, there are some signs that you don't require a permit.
Well,
But like a permanent sign for a condo would obviously require a permit.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So outside, a condo on the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
Before entering,
Right.
there would be a sign and that needs to
That
be
requires a
permitted.
permit.
Okay.
And if I just may add about the issue with the permanent sign. Now, on the top of page 56, I provide you the definition of what our code has for permanent sign. So it means a sign used to identify or name a residence or apartment, condominium, building, motel, or hotel. Now, the comparison table that I provide on page 76 with the other municipalities, this is based on permanent signage. Now, every city may have a different definition of permanent signage, but when you look at them, like they use a term, Boca uses ground identity, wall identity sign. Deerfield Beach uses building identification sign or freestanding sign. So I don't know that ingress and egress was considered here. I think these are more like the monument type signs, so just something to be mindful. I don't see any reference here to specifically an ingress or egress. It's more about those permanent signs that identify or name. Again, the definitions may vary by municipality, but I just wanted to put that out there.
You know, Ingrid, I had no problem with Bill Magna's request. I've had more comments about the Burma Shave signage at Seagate. I've had more people say to me, how do those signs, it's a repetition of signage. I've had more comments, and they're not big signs, but for some reason, people found them not as tasteful as they would like. But I understand that to identify each building why they did it. But I've had less comments when we saw Villa Magna they were experimenting out there and people were going by. They had no problem with that, but they had more problems with some of the smaller signs.
Well, and maybe it was because it's not pretty.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I don't know, was that,
That's a good description.
did it need to under the current code? It needed to.
Yeah. We've had more comments about that. yeah.
Violation.
I'll talk to you.
They look nice. What you proposed was nice.
I'd
do
like to just draw your attention to confusing with the permits. Page 63 or 3. Which one? B on the top, a street sign. And then it says no permit.
Yeah, as I said, there are some signs, there's some nuance where certain types of signs you don't need a permit, but that's what I was saying for like a permanent sign, like what they're proposing.
So we
So
just
that-
have to clarify that because that it's inconsistent.
Right. I mean, when you look at, if you look at page 62, section 23.5C, that's, talks about the permanent signage. That's 32 square feet, which is underlined and being proposed, and the strike through is under 10. So yes, some of these other signs, I mean, the gist of this amendment was about larger monument signs, right? Permanent signs for condos. It wasn't really to look at other types of street address signs, again, unless we get different direction from the commission.
I believe the street address sign is the actual number.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying. You don't need a permit
Yeah,
to put the
but-
street number on the
But that's a permanent.
street
sign.
address sign.
That's a permanent sign.
Well, again, I think it's called out, so it's different, right? It's a
Because
street address.
Here it was, there was reference, I didn't highlight it in my notes. But it said, I don't know if there's confusion with, well, wait a minute. If you have a private dwelling, I believe it said that the street sign, you didn't need a permit because that was already taken care of through the process of occupancy, giving them good occupancy to move in. But when you have condos and you have from the street, you're going to have like you do at Seagate, like there's 4 different entrances. So there's the numbers on these signs.
Right.
So where does that fall? It's a permanent sign. It's a street sign, right?
Right. To me, it's called out separately in the code. We're not proposing to change that. Again, we didn't get direction from the commission to change any of that existing language.
Okay, but
Yeah.
here it does say no permit is required.
Right. And when you look at the code, if you go to page 107, I mean, we have some prohibited signs here. And there's some other section here that talks about that. Again, keep in mind, these are the permanent signs which identify or name a residence, apartment, condominium, building, motel, or hotel. This is identifying or name, not necessarily an address. That makes sense, but
And
Yeah.
that requires a sign, it does not require a permit.
it does require a permit.
It does.
It does.
So why should there be a difference if there's a name or a number?
Again, the item as discussed as part of a public comment back in November was about changing the maximum size for permanent signs. Because what Villa Magna wants to do is have a larger sign that they could put up,
Mhm,
right? So, because their current sign doesn't meet it, but.
Then you also need FDOT approval, right?
Right, in our code, it clearly says that if there is any type of sign on the right of way, that you obviously need FDOT approval. Yes, that's in our code right now, sign code.
Now, how far out is the,
It's just existing.
You're in public, you're in Epsom.
I'm in IFDOT, right? Yeah, where, can you express for the community how they know where is FDOT? Where is the, that problem?
Right, well, you can always go to the property appraiser website, Palm Beach County, and you could see the right of way. I mean, really, you should look at a survey of the property. It'll typically show. But if you go to the property appraiser website, you could see the right of way of FDOT along A1A.
Okay.
The old golden rule is 50 feet from
Yeah.
center line.
Usually in front of,
Plus or minus, because the center line moves, but generally
50
50
feet.
feet on each side. We have a 100-foot
Up there.
right away.
It's definitely right. It's the
Definitely.
size-
So then you have to get the okay from FDOT.
Because they're going to check for sight lines. So that's where the ingress and egress sign can't be too big naturally, because you have to be able to see around it, over it, cars moving in each direction. Frangible, it's got to be able to break away. Yep.
Okay.
Sight triangle, yes. Yep.
So are we violating by
Nope.
doing 32? We're good with.
You got to
that.
get FDOT's approval.
Okay,
Right.
we're good.
And
Okay.
right, you have to abide by the site triangles.
Yeah.
But
So the 32 feet that's being proposed is not an issue for that.
just,
I mean, it would be kind of odd. I get what Commissioner Peterson, like you said, and it's like 36 square feet right at your drive. That would be kind of odd, but at the same time, you
Arrow.
couldn't put it that size because of the sight lines and all your moving directions. The sign naturally has to get smaller to see around it and over it. Otherwise, you're obstructing traffic and creating traffic hazards, and FDOT will never approve it. So
So they're the agency.
Mhm.
So
So
should
what-
we make it smaller so that we know it would?
I don't think you need to. I think it's gonna just the practical nature of the signs. Because
It
if you
would
cut
not-
it to half, say to, what is that, 16 square feet, and somebody has a 17 square foot design. Could you imagine what that condo group would do? Just kidding. Yes,
You have to
so I
get in
guess
the
it's,
deal.
it's kind of that protection, like,
I feel like
you
we
could
would
go
just-
up to this,
yeah.
that practical
Right.
reality, because you're not gonna have an ingress or egress sign outside of the right of way.
Right.
So FDOT's gonna control it anyway, and your sight lines, heights of vehicles, turning movements. So that's all
So-
gonna control
we-
and shrink the
right.
size down.
So if I take my sign out of the FDOT area to put one back in, I gotta need a permit, like if I pull it out.
You always need our permit. If you're in the right of way, you need FDOT's permit. If you put a sign, I guess, in the dune, you'll never get approval, but that would require FDEP approval. So. Yes.
And
just
just
for
for
what it's
discussion
worth-
on the size of the ingress egress?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too big, I mean, if I put my egress, if I put the sign that size there, I get complaints now, they can't see, they gotta pull out to the road. So that would be big, and I always think your main sign should be your biggest sign. That's what my feeling. I mean, we jumped 3 to 32 feet on that. It's kind of, maybe cut it in half, 20, I don't know. For I mean, that's a 12-foot square feet, look at the size of that, that's pretty big.
How does everybody else feel about that? Any other comments on that?
I think he makes a valid point.
So you want to throw out a number that we should consider? You want to say 20?
I say 20. I was gonna, 12 is good too, but 20, 32.
12.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good for having your number and your entrance and that's a pretty good size, 12 square feet.
And I know Villa Magna was
Sure
suggesting
does.
10, so that covers that.
Good.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
Yeah, 12 square feet.
How about you? What do you
That's
think,
big enough.
Commissioner Chidwell?
I agree with Don.
Yep. Okay. All right. So
Council.
I'm in agreement of that, of what'd you say, 12?
Well, yeah.
12.
Size,
So,
That's pretty good.
I mean, how about Judy? Do you
Yeah.
want to chime in?
Yeah, I would change it, yes. I think that's certainly big enough. yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like we have consensus for the ingress egress
At
to
20
make
feet?
that
20?
12.
Oh, it's 12, I'm
Instead
sorry.
of 32.
Good size.
Well,
12 square feet, okay.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the prop because
Yeah, always helps, right?
Yeah, that was.
And this is your first read,
Okay.
so I guess when it comes back to second, we can have that revision made.
yeah, because
Yeah, so
which we're making is for the ingress egress from 32 to 12. So that's a minor enough change.
it is not a
That-
problem. So
Okay.
Is it
Who-
appealable?
no. Whoever makes the motion, just say a motion approved subject to reducing the ingress egress to 12.
Say that again?
So whoever makes,
He's making, it's moving. He's
I'm
making-
not. So the motion, if someone were to make the motion would be to approve the ordinance subject to reducing the size of the ingress egress signs to 12 square feet. You can make that motion but I don't know if you're done with your discussion.
And we could still progress with the.
Yep.
It'll go to second reading and it'll come back amended.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this does not have an ordinance number that I can refer to. Is that a reason?
Yeah,
It'll come back with
It's
a
just,
number.
it'll come back.
on second read.
And I know we
Yes,
really said
so
it.
a motion,
Are we ready for the motion?
are we ready?
Okay, I guess I just say the Board of Appeals change. makes
So
sense.
it
Yeah.
it was the motion to approve the ordinance.
On
Subject,
first reading.
Egress.
yes, subject to reducing the egress and ingress signs from 12,
From 32.
from
32 to 12.
To
12, yeah.
12 square.
Perfect. Thank you.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So we're moving along. We are moving along. Well, we're not done. We're not
We're not
done.
done.
It
We have
still
plenty to
has,
do.
what,
We're gonna
so what's the next step now?
It'll come back second reading.
So it'll come and then they can proceed,
It'll be
right?
adoption. Yeah, it'll come back for second reading and adoption. And once it's adopted, they could submit for permit.
So it'll come back mid-July, July 16th. And for second read, yeah, sorry, we have this procedural. Yes.
Right.
And.
So 4 more weeks, 4 more weeks. Yeah. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
But under the old ordinance.
Okay, moving on to
They didn't get it.
Moving on, that's okay. Moving on to the next item, consent agenda, there's none. Unfinished business, there's none. New business, item A, approve and authorize staff to purchase and install a new carrier chiller for the 3616 building HVAC system from Carrier in the amount of $110,034.25, utilizing the OMNIA Partners Cooperative Purchasing Contract Number 159051. This item aligns with the fiscal year 2026 Strategic Priorities Plan, Capital Improvement Plan number 26-003. There,
Good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Skender Coma, Town Manager's Office. Pat and Sergio couldn't make it today, so they just asked me to come up and take any questions you guys might have about this purchase.
Any questions?
Nope.
No, it looks good. Contract looks good.
I think we need the chiller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No questions. So do we need a motion to approve?
Yes.
If we could have a motion?
Yes, motion to approve this purchase and authorize the staff to purchase and install the new carrier chiller.
Second that motion.
Do you need the further language?
No, I got
Is
it.
that sufficient? Okay,
I got it. Thank you. So Commissioner Goldberg,
yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Janowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
and Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item B, approve the award of the bid and authorize the mayor to execute a contract with La Porta Contracting LLC Incorporated for replacement of windows in the amount of $78,365.24 in accordance with invitation to bid number 26-002, Water Treatment Plant Building Department, with an option to replace town hall windows. This item aligns with the fiscal year 2026 Strategic Priorities Plan, Capital Improvement Plan number 26-011 and 27-006.
Yeah, so this one was my project.
Okay.
So we issued the invitation to bid back in March. We received 11 bids and Laporta came in as the lowest at right about under 80,000. The references were good. They're actually the contractor who did the roof on this building. So we've been happy with their work in the past. All their paperwork checked out, and we are recommending using them to do both sets of windows, the 22 in that building. And then I think it's 14 here. So it's from this set of double doors north. So we're not replacing any of these, just everything on that side.
Any discussion?
No.
No? If we're all in favor, could we have a motion?
Yes, now what are, how would you like this phrase? There's going to be, I do the motion to approve an award of the bids and authorize the mayor to execute the contracts with La Porta Contracting LLC. And
That's it. That's
that's
it.
it?
Yeah,
That's
the
it.
contract
Okay.
references
Thank you.
both. So
And I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Chernowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
and Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item C, resolution number 2026-008, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, amending resolution number 2025-024 to revise Exhibit B of the fiscal year 2025-2026 schedule of fees, establishing fees and charges for town services, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Well, good afternoon, Commission, Vice Mayor, Mayor. I'll try to make this as quick and painless as possible. The legislators passed HB 803. It forced us to go back and reevaluate some of our permit fees, primarily for the private providers. And part of it was they limit how much we can actually charge for, well, they limit how much we can charge to our actual cost for inspection fees. So we had some inspection fees that started at, the re-inspection fee actually started at 75, went to 150. You kept failing for the same reason, 250, 300, then it capped there. We had to get rid of that. We did some studies and broke down our budget, and we used the complete year budget, the 24-25 budget, and found out that it cost us actually $103 and about 84 cents every time we perform an inspection. That's our actual cost. We have cap government, we have the cost of the building, we have the portion that we pay back to the town for existing in there. And so what we did is we just changed it to a flat $100 fee. And that's what's reflected in here so that we're compliant with the House Bill 803. The other component was that the private providers wanted us to give more of a discount off of the permit fees when they're doing either plan review or inspections or both. The numbers that we put in there, I had to, again, go and break down what it cost us per inspection, what it, how many inspections by average we have per permit, and then how much it costs us to do plan review, and then what our base cost is just to exist with our administrative costs. So doing that, again, so I'm going to go back with the $100 inspection fee. We exceed what they want because we're actually charging less than what it cost us. Okay. And for the private provider discount, what we're doing is we were giving a 9% discount for inspections. We may change that to 13, 9 for plan review. We changed that to 13. And then if they do both inspections and plan review, they get 26% off now. Previously, it was 18%. So that's the change on that end of things. So those are really the only two items that were changed. There was actually a couple small little errors that I found in the previous Scrivener errors that I took care of with the comma and things like that, which you may find in there. But we put everything in there, explain how we got to those numbers. And those numbers exceed what's required by the state statute so that we're looked at in this way until they change it next year and we have to amend it again.
How much of a discount overall? I understand from 8 to or from 13 down, 9 to 13. Why not more? Why not charge? Not more of a discount. Why not charge more? Why did you go less rather than to meet what our out-of-pocket cost is?
Because we had to meet the statute. And the statute, and I did have some discussion with Len on this. We had some discussion and some email back and forth to make sure that we're compliant. Because there's some misunderstanding. When you look at like a summary, it says that we have to give 25% off if they do inspections or plan review and 50% off if they do both. It doesn't say for the entire permit fee. It just says for that portion of the permit fee that's attributed to what they're saving on plan review or inspection services. Okay, so that's how we were able to do it. And I was able to get it to this number to give them a larger discount because I didn't have a choice, because at the end of the day, I had to at least hit that 25% mark. Overall, it just happened to work out that way because our overall costs, the administrative component, if we take away all inspections and plan review, our administrative cost to exist is a little over 50% of what we're charging in our permit fee.
Okay.
So it's about 25% to plan review, 25, it's in that range
Okay.
for those two. But those are how the numbers kind of worked out so that we're compliant. We're doing at minimum of what we have to, or actually doing slightly more. We don't get a lot of private providers. I was actually able to convert some of the contractors that were used private providers back to using us because they feel like they're better, getting a better service from us than they are from the private providers. And it's kind of a minimal with us. We've maybe received over the last year, like 180 inspections from private providers. They mostly do inspections. They don't typically do the plan review, although they do occasionally. And we still have to do the review for the zoning end of things to check for setbacks, like on a generator, to do the floodplain review. So we still have to do that anyway, that they're not allowed to do that. And some of the portions of the fire review has to be done by the fire department. So we're giving them, we're following the statute to comply so we don't get in trouble.
Any effect on budget?
Pardon?
Any effect on budget?
Yeah, I think what I'm estimating is probably somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000 we're going to lose a year in reinspection fees, where people just continually fail for the same reason. Instead of having that progressive penalty where it kind of gives them incentive to fix it, we just have to keep charging them the same $100. But we are charging initially, it's going from 75 to 100. But overall, we're probably going to lose between 10 and 20,000 overall. We'll see how it goes. So nothing significant in comparison to what percentage of our budget that is.
Okay.
If we are all in agreement, if we could get a motion to approve?
Just let me, yes, a motion to approve resolution number 2026 this is 008.
I second it.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
Commissioner Janowski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern.
Yes.
And Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, introduction of potential proposed ordinance regarding regulation of e-bikes within the town, specifically along the State Road A1A shared use path.
Hey, e-bikes, fun topic.
My favorite topic.
Oh, you should come up to North County sometime and see how fun it is up there. Okay, so we have talked about regulation of e-bikes. In the town of Highland Beach, it was primarily focused on the shared use path. You don't have as many children as we have in, say, Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, North Palm Beach, where this has become a crazy issue. So in accordance with the council's general direction, I went ahead and I drafted a relatively simple ordinance, basically saying that you can't operate these motorized devices, including e-bikes, with exceptions for devices for the physically disabled or, for public safety personnel and all that kind of stuff, that you cannot drive them on sidewalks within the town and the shared use path. Now, the shared use path is the rub because it's within the FDOT right away. So we do not have, so anything that goes on in our sidewalks, in our subdivisions, fair game, we can do whatever we like. The statute makes it clear we can do whatever we like. But when it comes to FDOT right away, we have to get the consent of FDOT. They have jurisdiction, but more importantly, they control the signage too. So we can't erect any signage or anything. So if we were going to enforce our ordinance, we really would need to coordinate it with FDOT. So all I did for the town ordinance was basically do a general ban with the usual exemptions to whom it would not apply. And then I took out a bunch of we had language that had been superseded by statute like 20, 30 years ago. So I just took that out just to clean it up. But as I was doing this, the county comes out with an ordinance, or at least a proposed ordinance. They haven't adopted it yet. Now, the county ordinance I've read it 100 times and there are parts of it that still don't make sense to me. It's sort of vague. The standards that they use, they kind of say, requires operation with due care and prudence, with regard to pedestrian activity, attendant circumstances. I'm not sure how you enforce that. It does prohibit operation on sidewalks and share use path. They call it share use paths, but within designated commercial or high pedestrian areas, except where specifically authorized. Again, who's going to designate that? You'll have the same issue with within the A1A right away that you'll have with FDOT with the one that I drafted just for the town. It does, though, the county ordinance does contain more safety requirements. They require a helmet if you're under age of 16. Then they have all these youth safety requirements that if you have to be 16 if it goes over 20 miles an hour. It actually attempts, which I give them kudos for this, because this appears to be where the problem is, prohibits a parent or legal guardian from knowingly providing, supplying, or permitting a minor to operate a device that does not meet the operational limits in the statute. Because what happens is you get these e-bikes and then they're able to modify them to go way faster than they were ever intended to do. So that is a legitimate problem. And they also talk about having more people on it than it's intended, than it's designed to hold. Now, the county ordinance, the way the county has proposed it, it would apply countywide even within the municipalities, but the municipalities can opt out. So you don't have to abide by the ordinance. And it's really unclear to me, and in reading the county ordinance, like who's making all these determinations of what's a high pedestrian area. And it really seems like within Highland Beach, it's really like an A1A problem, because the concern is you have pedestrians, you have bicyclists, now you have motorized bicyclists and other sort of devices. But the problem with, and the county ordinance has not been adopted yet, so we don't have to make that decision. It's just from the town's perspective, it's really this, the elephant in the room is this FDOT. Will they ever agree to it? Would they ever agree to allow Highland Beach to eliminate e-bikes and other related devices from the shared use path if they're allowed in Boca and they're allowed in Delray Beach? And if those municipalities don't feel the same, I feel like maybe if there was a united effort among those at least 3 municipalities, that maybe there'd be a better chance of approaching FDOT and trying to get this done. But it's going to require their cooperation, and it may require the cooperation of our neighboring municipalities as well. So that was really just an overview. I mean, the ordinance itself is pretty straightforward, at least the one that I drafted. I don't think the counties is all that straightforward, but it hasn't been adopted yet, and I assume it will still go through a few iterations before it is. I know the chiefs have been discussing it. I discussed it with Chief Hartman and my other police chiefs, but FDOT is that's the wild card here. So I just wanted to sort of introduce like what our options are. We can draft our own, and I did draft one that could be modified to whatever the commission's liking. You can wait and see what the county does and then decide what you're going to do and try to get answers to these enforcement questions, of which I have many. Or, you can just, I guess those are your 2 options, or you could just leave it be and not regulate.
Hey, Len, it's really an A1A problem, but even it really is, and you see it, and it's a respectful situation. Do you say something or do you not? What's even more bothersome, I see more golf carts now with children hanging out of the golf carts going down A1A. I know David said and I see more and more people buying these golf carts, and there's no regulation. But I've been behind a couple of golf carts where they've had 3 or 4 kids hanging outside. There's no helmets, there's anything, and they just go right down A1A. So it is a problem. I think our police force probably has to have more of an impact than the resident, because people complain, but I don't know if Chief Hartman wants to go that route.
Yeah, I was Googling last night, Florida's e-bike laws, and I didn't know they just said July 1st, they're coming with a new law now. If you're a class 3, they don't want you on sidewalks or usage. They want you on the bike pass or the road. And then I guess in each category, they give locals can restrict more. So I guess that would be us. And then it says that if you're riding a bike on a common path, or a sidewalk, if you come 50 feet with a pedestrian, you have to give a warning.
Right.
You have to give a warning when you pass, and you got to give the pedestrian right away. So I guess the state laws, that would be the FDOT. So,
I mean, we could enforce that. Once that becomes law, it can be enforceable because it's a state statute and we can enforce it even with an FDOT. The issue with FDOT is the banning of the motorized vehicles from the FDOT right away.
see, the problem would be how to see a class 1 to a 3. They say 3 shouldn't be on here.
Right. Because
But
that's
then,
your
you know,
fastest.
and these kids, like you said, they're taking the governors off, and actually they're making a class 4 now. They're going 60 miles an hour. So, and matter of fact, I think there's a lawsuit up the line where the person that got hurt is suing the family for permitting the daughter to ride the e-bike and I guess killing a person or
And I
whatever.
think that's what the county was attempting to do about the parents knowingly providing these, but I'm not even saying the parents would know if they modify them, but
Right.
some parents, they probably do know. I don't know.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First of all, I like what you wrote up. I think that really fits the needs of the town. And question number one, pretty simple one, is it written or guidelines anywhere where someone who has a motorbike or a scooter and so forth has to go with traffic in the proper lane? What's
You mean
current-
go with traffic, you mean?
in other words, somebody going north has to go in the bike lane on the right and not go against the bikes and the traffic on going south. You follow what I'm saying?
No, I do follow what you're saying. I just don't know off the top of my head whether there is. I mean, it makes
question.
sense. We're always taught like you're supposed to go, because people like to go against traffic so they can see what's coming. But we're always taught that the proper way is to go with traffic. I don't know if it's in the statute. It might be. I'd have to look though. And if it's not, it's probably well, again, it's FDOT right away, the bike lanes, it gets into that whole issue again.
Because I can envision more with a youngster, and if we pass and it has to go into the lane, that the parent says, oh, go just right along here, they're going north or south.
Right,
Rather than
right.
going across the street. So I asked that question. The other question I have, if we were to just want to pass something like this, is there any communication that can be had with FDOT as to their feeling relative to this thing for the town? And yes, it would be great to have Delray and Boca do the same thing, at least to Linton and to Spanish River.
Right.
But if not, is that going to be an obstacle with them or not?
I don't know, but I do think, well, and that was sort of the the gist of the memo was that I think if the commission wishes to move forward, we do have to coordinate with FDOT. And I have not had any communications with FDOT. I don't know what their position is on this. I mean, maybe they're amenable, maybe they're not. I have no idea.
Because I would just add, I think the situation is going to get worse, not better, and it's an accident waiting to happen. And I just pulled out another article. Everybody's looking at these things as far as the commissions and introducing different things. I think we ought to be ahead of the curve here because it's the right thing to do.
Agreed. And I mean, we could always also adopt the age requirements. I mean, if that's something that the commission wants to do as well,
Right.
make it 16 and above to ride these.
They must wear a helmet and everything.
That's sort of the easier way, because we were actually talking about it in North Palm Beach the other meeting a couple weeks ago. And it was like, well, maybe we should adopt the age, at least that's something. And then it gives the police, I mean, the police there, which I'm sure your department's the same, they're really trying to educate. They're not, they're not trying to arrest kids or go after their parents. They just want everyone to abide by the rules and trying to educate them what the rules are. And that might be an easier thing to enforce. I don't know if it'll make a difference from a safety perspective, perhaps. I mean, you definitely don't want, 11-year-old kids riding these e-bikes, so.
And what is the penalty?
It's the penalty is we would have to, if it's our ordinance, we would have to enforce it. We would enforce it through our code citations. So it would be whatever the schedule of penalties. We'd have to add it and determine what the appropriate penalty would be.
Read somewhere, I don't know if it was this article.
Oh, I think
It's not in the resolution? Was there?
No, I think it is actually.
One, a class 2?
I think we made it a class 2.
$50. That, if you find them, It's so minimal.
Yeah, we would have to enforce it. It'd still be a civil infraction. We would just have to enforce it by citation.
But we could enforce the state laws July 1st. I guess the new laws coming in Manila.
The state laws, I believe we can enforce, yes.
Yeah.
Even within the DOT right away, because it is a law of general application.
Well, I will propose that an effort be made to address it with FDOT.
I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. There's no reason not to.
No, there's no, and there's no reason not to, and we're gonna come up against it anyway, so. And as I said, that was really where I was aiming is and it seems like the commission does want to do something if it can. So I think the next step is to reach out to FDOT and see how amenable they are to it.
Because, could you clarify again? Because we cannot adopt this ordinance without FDOT
Well,
coordination.
We could adopt it, we wouldn't be able to enforce it within the A1A right away because, and really we wouldn't be able to, you'd have to have signs to say that it's
Okay.
prohibited and
I
that
Okay.
the signs are the primary
key.
thing.
Okay.
Jurisdiction gets a little wonky about who has the jurisdiction because general municipalities can regulate traffic within their jurisdictional limits. It gets a little crazy when you have the state roads versus the county roads versus the local roads and who has the jurisdiction. Because generally a state road A1A, we can enforce traffic, we can enforce all those other things, even though it's a state road. So I would like to talk, if we're going to talk to FDOT about the jurisdictional part, but also the signage part. I think that's two different components that we would need to address with them.
So I agree with that
Yeah.
if everyone else agrees. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think we can
Perfect.
adopt the ordinance at this time.
No, it's,
Yeah. Yeah, but let's keep the momentum going.
yeah.
Doing what we can. Do you need a motion or anything?
Nope.
No, okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much for.
Hey, now we're good.
Okay.
All right.
Longer.
It's time to leave now.
I think next time we should do the money at the beginning, when we're bright-eyed.
I agree.
When I first got here.
Hello.
And I got a lot of participation here.
We promised to
The
applaud.
And then the last comedian gets the greatest audience.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Well, thank you. It's that time of year and have a brief presentation for you. We're at 75%. We're still waiting on some information, i.e. changes in pension, the pension rates, those are usually set by the state of Florida. These come out in July. Health insurance renewals, property insurance renewals, things like that typically happen towards July, August sometimes, but nothing major. But we did bake in some assumptions, a little bit higher. We've already done this presentation to the FAB last Tuesday. And they, I didn't think they got any major comments back or anything like that, but that's why we put in there, we're about 75%. We're still waiting on some things. So these right here are just kind of the main headlines, we assumed property, we got back from the property appraiser that our increase is about 4.1%, Keep in mind, and I have a graph in here, we used to be at 13, you remember? You remember the days, 13 point something percent or whatever, it was a little crazy, but
23,
anyway, yeah, and keep in mind too, in 2026, we really focused a lot on our capital. We really did, and part of the chiller item that you just approved, the sewer relining, right? And all these things. So that was kind of heavy right now. And oh, by the way, we just finished our first full year of the fire department, and you'll see some of those, you'll see some of the numbers fluctuate, right? Why 22, 23 was like this, keep in mind, just reminding you, we were maintaining 2 fire departments at the time, right? And we were building this beautiful building behind us.
And, we also have some other assumptions, with staff compensation, health insurance, pension, as I said before, general insurance increases. So
I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It seems a little odd to me and what's kind of happening with insurance and policies tend to be going down a little bit on property and so forth. And we just put new roofs and we put new windows in and we've got in there an increase of 7 to 10%.
Yeah.
How do we justify that?
Well, we're just looking back at history. Now, I know like individual condos have had a lot of changes. This is more general liability insurance. This is workers' compensation. Keep in mind, now we have a full year with our own fire department, own staff there. So you got workers' compensation insurances in there. We also, we have marine vessels. We just one, but we have a whole police force for that. So I'm just accounting for that. I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope that it comes back at 2%, right? Or less or whatever. But that's just a general ballpark figure.
They're saying the property insurance is coming down. So we'll probably be flat on the property insurance piece. Flood, it's different. Like you said, workers' comp will be different based on claims, things of that nature. But on the property side only, it'll be flat for us is what Brown and Brown has been telling us. It's going to be flat.
And then the liability is going up, right? Because then did they end up making the what they call it, sovereign?
True. So the sovereign immunity goes up on our general liability insurance will go up to match the state stuff. So that's going to.
Isn't that part of general insurance? So yeah, it's
like
not
we
just property.
packaged all of it.
Right.
The property it's getting better.
Right. But
Maybe
other,
some of our pooled vehicles are better, but again, like you said, sovereign immunity.
they raise
caps
the
it.
limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, we're just trying to be conservative and right now in the 75% budget, we'll hone tune that. Let's not forget
I
about.
just had to have a question for you.
Thank you. You always do. And they're very good questions. Here are our lists. I'm not going to read them all, but here are a list of our 2026 accomplishments so far. And here's what we've always tried to look at is keep in mind some of the bigger projects. What we've said is as we come closer to after permitting, design, or what have you, if we bring you a major budget, at that moment in time, we'll also come with a budget amendment. Okay. But right now we have some small little projects here, nothing like we used to have in 2026 with the sewer relining or what have you. And so this is just, again, an overview.
So with piggybacking what David had on there, you see those two yellows. So when he gets into our cash reserve positions on unassigned, those two projects are tied up in that unassigned. So it's not been budgeted for those two projects. So when he says unassigned, it's a strong number. Just remember loosely, we've committed and I don't know if commitment would be the right word, but those two projects fall within that chunk when we get to that part of the conversation.
Yeah. So again, preliminary, that's what we're talking about now. We're still confident that we can maintain our millage rate for the FY27 fiscal year at 3.5875.
Assuming no change in the law, in the property tax.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a change for FY27, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
That's correct. And it's the end of the conversation.
That's right.
We're going to have a
Yeah.
big jump off on that
Yeah.
part of after the budget presentation is the
What do we do?
future, right?
Yeah.
What does that hold
Yeah,
for us?
and it'll change, right. And so, but this is again, big picture. Keep in mind, we've had this since October 1st, 2022. And this slide right here, I think it's number 6. If I just wanted to show you, this right here was these are the inter-fund transfers that we do, right? So we that way other funds take a share of the overall overhead and pay their fair share per se. And so that's what we've always done. We've always had the sewer fund transfer money over to the water fund. We've had the water fund transfer money over to the general fund, building fund transfer its proportionate share. And so I just wanted to kind of break that down to you to show you what's moving in between the funds.
So the sewer fund, was that 220 before? So you increased it to 300?
Yes.
That's the max?
No.
It's proposed.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll look at days cash when we get to that sewer fund and
Right.
see what that does, what that looks like,
right.
you know?
Okay.
And
I
again, yeah,
think we should do more.
Yeah.
I think we, if
yes,
we can.
absolutely.
Okay.
And so, but this right here again is just a history. Keep in mind, look at the FY 22.
Yeah.
That's when, by the way,
Mhm.
that's when our water system wasn't yet strong enough to be self-supportive, right? Our water and sewer
Yeah.
systems at that time weren't able to be self-supportive at that time. And so what was included in our millage was to send money over to cover their debt service for the agreements that they had. But you can see like over the time where we're at now is just the general fund as well as the small little debt we have for the building behind us. This right here is we've looked at this many times. This is obviously the change in taxable values and what that percentage changed. That's when I said, you know, it was in FY 23, 24 timeframe that we hit over 13%, right? Change in taxable values. Well, now that's starting obviously to come down. You can see, I think our lowest point in this period of time that we're looking at was 2.3%. And that was in it looks like FY 21. And so at the end of the day, we're starting to come down. Now, our 5-year forecast, we didn't think that we were going to be coming down this quickly, but we did. And so, but it's okay. And so, but we just wanted to kind of show you that as we revamp our 5-year forecast, we'll change those assumptions. Instead of assuming 5% and then 4% and kind of settling at 3.5% to 4%, we may lower that down for the future. And right now, keep in mind that, you know, when we talk property taxes, you know, that's over 73+% of your, of the money that comes in. So any modifications to that, right, significantly change how we do business. And so, but that's a next year challenge. But, and there are the other sources of revenue, you know, that we get. Just wanted to show you that. So now let's focus on the general fund. When you're looking at this chart and every fund is broken out by revenues and then expenditures, and I went from left to right. So the far left, you'll see these are actuals. I put in there my estimate for FY 26 when we're in now. But we have actuals for 23, 24, 25, and now I'm estimating where we think we're going to be at for 26. And I also have the budgets for those ensuing years. And so, you know, at the date, we're looking at, okay, a high level, 75% overview. What are we looking at? Well, we know that a 4.2% increase in property values at the current millage, we know that that'll generate about $600,000, you know, of additional revenue. And so we put that in there, and our charges for services, that's mainly the trash. You know, we have a contract which is just a pass through for our garbage collection. We know that increases, and then we obviously just have a general increase for our transfers in, that also increased. And as we fine tune the revenue side of life, we'll get better insight into these numbers as we go along when we hit the 100%. But we anticipate that you know, our contract with solid waste, you know, will increase by 7% because we signed a long-term agreement with that. And so we've baked all those numbers into on the revenue side. Now let's look at the expenditure side. The expenditure side, same idea from left to right. You have actuals, you have our budget, and really the far right-hand side just shows you the difference between the FY 26 and the FY 27 preliminary budget. That's all that's showing. And so we took into account changes in cost of living per police or fire contractual agreements. Staffing levels are pretty much set. I think we might have a few positions open, but nothing major. Increases in operating the fire and rescue department. Remember, we just came out of our first year. You know, everything's brand new. right? So that's good, but we still squirrel away money every year, and we'll get to that for replacing these major $1 million pieces of equipment that we have out here. So we've baked all that in. And so as you can see here, what we're really showing here is that, okay, our expenditures will increase about 4%. Okay, that's not too bad if you think that inflation is about 2.5%, 3%, right? That's really not too bad. Yes, sir.
Question. In comparison to where you were a couple of years ago.
Your comment would be, what an incredibly smart decision. And if I were to estimate, I would say you're probably saving $2 million. I without a doubt, I would think that their budget would be $8 to $8.5 to $9 million per year. Per year. And we have more staff, concierge service, better relationships with, obviously, it's night and day. The interest rate alone on the debt is phenomenal, right? The commission and the management continue to do the right decisions at the right time. They seem to have some crystal ball that says, now's the time to do it. Without a doubt, without a question. Yeah. And but anyway, so these right here are the expenses. Remember, we're looking at the general fund. This right here is by departments. Okay. So remember, the general fund is the only fund that has departments. The rest of the funds, they have their water department, sewer department. The general fund is the one that has, and here's our list of departments. Remember the good old days when we used to have a post office? Well, that's, obviously no longer there, but yeah. And so I want you to keep in mind that each department, that's why I put it in the little balloon there. Each department includes labor and related costs, which would be your payroll taxes, health insurance, pension, workers' compensation, all those costs that it has, but it also includes that department's operating cost. And in some cases, like for example, the police department, they've got a small little loan for their radios, any debt service related to those departments. But here you can see an overall by departments, what did it increase? Some departments increased, others department, decreased. And so, so that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Why the big change in the library?
The big change in the library is for their capital. For their capital. I think you had bathroom.
The bathrooms are a real mess, and the kitchen break room. It's not a kitchen like with an oven or anything, but just their break room.
Yep.
Formica's delaminating, falling out. It's just it's a mess.
Yeah.
And if you've been in the library bathrooms, I think they've reached their age. I mean, I guess the toilet's still flush, but it's kind of rough in there. And we've replaced the line getting into it. So we're looking to just do a bathroom rehab. Now, if we get during this discussion or some information becomes available, that's, those are things that we have to, I think maybe not in the immediacy, but in the long term, capital is going to be our strain. Our choke point is our appetite for capital with restraint on tax revenues. We just got to, that'll start being our balance moving forward.
Yeah, but good question. But yeah, that's and good thing, right? Because you were able to focus on, wow, why the big change there? And right away, keep in mind, each of those departments have their own capital budget as well. And so they had put that on there, and management said, okay, fine, we can see a need for that. Let's include it. So this right here is the general fund. This right here is our reserves, right? I wanted to break it out into 3 sections, really. Okay. So the top section there, that's from our audited financial statements for FY 23, 24, 25. I estimate obviously what 26 is going to be. And then I also estimate based on this budget what FY 27 is going to be. Now, keep in mind that 16.5% of every budgeted item goes into budget stabilization and Plus another 16.5% goes into disaster recovery. So you'll see that number changes every year. You see budget stabilization, disaster recovery. We earmark those funds for that specific purpose. Okay. And so at the end of the day, you'll see that the next one on the far left-hand side has fund balance on the general fund, where I then turn it over to here is what I'm trying to show you on the right side is hey, as a general fund, unrestricted or unassigned. What unassigned means is this: it doesn't hit any of those other buckets, right? We don't, we might have $12 million in the general fund, but, as we can see in, in 2025, our audited figures, we might have $2.8 million, $10.2 million in total, right? But you can see how it's segregated to 2.8 million is for disaster recovery and budget stabilization. $500,000 now is in our fire/rescue public safety, where we're trying to squirrel money away for any future major equipment changes. Other is those items that we are currently in a contract for. So we have to segregate that, right? So we have to segregate that so we know not to spend that. And so when we look at what's really unassigned, like what's free cash for the commission to choose with what they want, when you look at it, we have about 80 to 90 days of free cash that you can do with what you want. Now, you can lower any of your other restrictions that you have on there. But, out of about 10 or 11 million, 4.7 million is unassigned as of now. So,
But committed.
yes.
Committed to what?
Marine dock facility.
How much is
And,
that?
I think we've got committed a couple million for that, 2 million. And then about
So 2 million from us, or how much was supposed to
we
be
could
from
bring
the
back.
grant?
the grant is, we'll find out, but it could be as much as 1 million. It could be less. They've never done 1 million, so I'm guessing it's less.
So
The project estimate's 2.3-ish. 2.5 is the whole project.
Okay.
We get a grant for, say, $500,750. We're still in for 1,700,000, 1,800,000
The grant comes.
if the grant comes through, if we want to continue with that. And those are, I'm kind of foreshadowing what our conversation needs to be for the next couple of years. The appetite for capital, we need to, as David said, this crystal ball, we need to start having that crystal ball. It needs to start having some clarity of when we need to pull levers earlier rather than later. And this is, we had those 2 projects committed. We got referendum approval from the community for the others for the fire station, the rebuild. We initially had to anticipate that's about 1.2 million. That's probably grown since we started. So we have probably 3 million committed between the projects out of the 4.7, which would take us to where we need. At some point in time, based on my uncommunicated independent conversations with each of you, I may recommend, either we hit that budget stabilization a little bit harder, or we create a preemption fund that's kind of tongue in cheek to the legislator. But we may need to set aside money to plug holes in the early stages of rollout, because the property tax thing is structural. So we may want to push cash into operating to kind of hedge the edges a little bit. So we may want to assign more formally some of those dollars to serve as our backstop. We're in a great position. I was very pleased. He said, the FAB didn't have any comments, but they were very optimistic. For a group that generally isn't optimistic all the time. Like, you think about it, they're optimistic people, but when you start talking numbers, so they breathed a strong breath of optimism into my derailment, maybe sort of frustration with the legislator, but at the same time, we will, Highland Beach survives this. It's just, we have those handful of years where we may need some of that 4.7 to make it through, right? To pull through that other side. And it may be the appetite for capital. And where do we squeeze that, you know? And the FAB did suggest that too, is that if we got to that point, they were willing to help you guys with capital and what we should or shouldn't be doing, making some recommendations.
So we are right. And as Marshall said, we have a fund budget stabilization. We have disaster recovery. And if at any moment, and oh, by the way, those dollars there are based on what's budgeted. So what our ordinance says is shall take 16.5% of the budgeted figure and put that into those respective things. But we can kind of modify that or we can look at that. But anyway.
So should we put like earmark some of that unassigned for those two projects?
I think we should, like I said,
I mean, I guess
I just come from a bigger community where we would have assignments, which is really formal, and then
Right.
commitments. Because a
Right.
commitment you can easily, without maybe possibly a resolution, we're committing it to these funds to this project. David and I and staff, Susie, know that the money set aside. Assignment is you're moving the money in, it's under resolution that it can't be moved under specific purposes, but you could commit it to projects. And you loosely have through the referendum saying up to X. We've been authorized by the community up to 3.5 million. So you could set this aside and, to say it's committed to these projects.
Yep.
It helps us on multiple fronts. I think it helps us have real, like those dollars are committed. We're gonna need it to plug the hole. And when we, talk to our union reps at some point in time, depending on how it is, like we need to be calm as we move through the next couple of years, negotiating our contracts that, we may want to do more, but we might have to be practically bound by the financial realities for a period of time.
Because I thought the fire rescue line, isn't that kind of like a loose commitment? Like that's
No,
not,
it's a formal, you guys.
that is a formal, okay.
Resolution on the fund balance policy saying we're gonna set aside this, and then annually you can add more through budget motion, you can add more. But we created a formal policy that says we're setting aside for fire, so you can put
But
50.
it's still easy to move around, isn't it? Or no? I
That
thought,
is by policy, you could do it as through your budget, but if we were to do sorry, luckily I'm loud enough. You could do commitments as a secondary action, or we can add in the policy that you can annually do commitments and refine that policy. As David said, we may want to look at budget stabilization as 25% instead of 16.5% with the sunset. We could be very creative. And we do, you're right. At the end of the day, you could pass a resolution ordinance and change everything overnight if you had to.
Yeah.
But this kind of sets the boundaries and the guidelines for management moving forward when somebody says, oh, you got plenty of money. Well, yeah, but it's already as spoken for, right?
Right.
If you think at home, I got a mortgage coming, I got my car payment. Those are commitments you got to make. I mean, you could sell the car, sell the house, but I mean, those are bigger actions than your month to month or year to year type actions. It kind of formalizes it a bit. And I think we'll probably get there. We have time. We'll see how it polls.
Yeah.
And see if it moves the needle. How close is this really going to be? And again, at the end of the day, we're going to get to the other side of it. It's kind of a little fuzzy, and you'll see the other stuff, what I call general law issues. Yeah.
so I guess I would be in favor, and I guess I would like to hear everybody else's thoughts. In my opinion, when I look at that top chart, the fund balance grows 8.9 million, 8.3 million, 10.2 million for 2025, 11.6 up to 12.2. The budget stabilization, that 16.7, that's in all the literature as far as good practice, how much you're supposed to set aside. Disaster recovery, again, what you're supposed to set aside. We've earmarked money for fire rescue. When I look at this without thinking about other projects, having an unassigned amount of almost $5 million, to me, for 2026 and 2027, having almost $5 million in unassigns, to me seems like we're collecting money from the residents to just keep in our savings account, which might be excessive. But Marshall makes a good point. We have these two projects that we need to pay for. So for me, for sure, I would feel like that wasn't such an excess if we had, and I think it should be like loosely tied, something that can be easily changed, not something that, because when you deal with your fund balance, there's some like really strong allocations that are made and you can't touch it. So I don't want it to be in a place where it's very hard to change. I want it to be in a place where we're kind of earmark, and I don't know what the right procedural method is, but I would like to see 2 more line items on this chart that allocates some money for the dock and for the redoing of the old firehouse.
Could
That is what
It looked better.
it will, because it'll look like we're not just
we're
like
sitting
putting
on
money
$3
to
million.
put it in our.
See,
savings
it's how well we all play together. I did that on purpose because I knew that conversation was there. Plus, we have this pending emergent threat of, a property tax constitutional amendment. We should have the ability. So I'm going to bring back a policy that's called commitments that you guys can do in the annual budget process. You can commit and decommit funds collectively during the budget approval process and any, kind of like that. Keep it loose.
then that can be modified by actual
By-
commission?
Majority
By
support.
discussion,
Well,
by
let me-
consensus,
Yeah, by vote, you'd vote to
Yeah.
do it, but you'd
Okay.
Let
do
me,
it. Yeah.
let me suggest that the things that are specifically like recovery and so forth are restricted funds. The other funds are reserve funds. And that the reserve fund, you can move from one area to the other. Restricted should stay there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I also want you to keep in mind that I know $5 million is a lot of money, but annually, if you go back, we're looking at for just the general fund only, your budget's over $20 million.
Number of associations. My own, we have $5 or $6 million in reserves. And when we look at the numbers of the town, and I have to turn David's, I would not consider that excessive. When a condo association can have $5 or $6 million, and you would expect a town to have at least those kinds of in reserve. And that's where I like what David said, and I expect the mayor said, it is a reserve going to do with an emergency.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would question that. That's my opinion.
But you
Okay,
already
but
have
just-
that.
Yeah,
in
we do,
disaster relief.
exactly. We have the budget
yeah.
stabilization, we have disaster
Yes,
recovery,
yes,
we have
and
money
y-
set aside.
yeah,
So
Yes, you can.
there is still
Yeah.
$7-8 million for all
Yeah,
that
you
stuff.
have, you have 10 to 12 million,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? And right. And oh, by the way, just a few years ago, we were balancing 2 fire departments.
Right.
Took out a loan but we used up about almost $4 million, $3.8 million of our excess cash to pull the trigger on the building behind us. So, I mean,
You'd rather assess everyone.
no, that's.
Well, they can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, just as an observation, and this may be too simplistic, and I think the governor's argument is, in my opinion, too simplistic. When he talks about all the money the towns have received over the years, just because the property values are up. But when you look at our numbers, 2023 and 2027. Significant growth,
Mm-hmm.
4 million. Now,
So-
there's a lot of but there's a lot of buts to that.
There's a lot of buts and a lot
Yeah.
of complexity
There
that's
is.
political math wants to simplify it, which is okay. I'm not going to say what people want to do. It's not my position on that. But from 2019 to this year, CPI, costs have inflated like 34%. And that's right off of the federal government, 34%. So if our budget grows close to 34%, it's covering FRS's added 12 to 15% of every personnel dollar that's coming right from the state. Labor costs to get our police and fire somewhat in this planet for being paid. Like those, as much as we want to simplify it, the cost of doing business, construction, metal, concrete, asphalt, fuel, all that stuff continues to grow. And you can't just say it's marked on how many new people you get. It doesn't work for a town like this. But we've done well to keep it stabilized. We do have these funds. Again, we've committed them to projects loosely. We need to be a little more formal, protect ourselves from those type of attacks so they know. Because I get it. You don't usually tax to save. It's a tax to spend concept of government, right? You don't want to save too much. That does look like you're just squirreling it away for what, you know?
Yeah.
So we just have to clarify this out for the public to know that, no, we got a couple big old projects sitting there, or we're going to, take a hit and we don't want to increase taxes to counterbalance potentially a supported constitutional amendment. That looks terrible too. Like, and you'll hear that rhetoric in the newspapers when you're reading it. And they're just going to pull that increase lever, right? A lot of governments aren't going to be creative enough or think it out. They're just going to pull the lever and say, well, we're just going to increase to match it. That's just going to infuriate the legislator even more and make them dig in and do other preemptive strikes. But it's disingenuous to the voter if they supported it, right? So you kind of have to be careful on that. And with our cash position, we can get through it without raising increasing the millage rate in the short term, unless it really, the wheels really fall off the bus, But we don't know until it goes.
The projects that are out there, we don't yet have it on the strategic list, but you would know structurally. So we're allowed, the structural,
Well,
where that's not exempted, right? Or is that the right word for that? I mean, we have to have fun. We can, for.
And we got a couple projects. We have that real-time, security center we thought would be a reasonable number. We're finding it's unreasonable. May have to go to the electorate to get it approved or value engineer it to a place of acceptable nature. And I think we're going to be doing that more. We've been in a very great place from fiscal planning and the prudence of planning for what's coming ahead is just that the end point has just moved on us, right? The field goal post moved and now we got to change that game plan somehow. At this point, we don't really know, and we don't really know what those caps on growth do. And if they get authorized for general law movement on spending, it could really get in a weird spot fast. And I mean by weird, by how do you plan for that political math and stuff like that? It gets quick, right? So.
But, but in reality, when we started doing 5-year planning, right? When we started doing that, we've always committed that, hey, these are great times. Property values are increasing. Let's hold the line with the millage. Let's hold it because we know that curve is going to start to come down. And when it does start to come down, we want to be able to have cash so that we don't have to keep messing around with the millage rate. Do you know what I mean? When it starts to come down.
And it's interesting because I remember having the conversation with you all last year. I said, we're almost to the point where we would naturally be looking at discussing millage modifications on our own, regardless of the state, because we were coming to the backside of those large capital projects and we would be in a spot where we could calm down, which supports some of the stuff we're going to talk later. This planning actually has worked quite well.
Yes.
We just didn't think it would be on somebody else's term and not our own.
Right. And keep in mind too, who we keep forgetting, we also lost discretionary sales tax dollars, right? Keep in mind, you can see so what you're looking at here is the top line is your cash in all these different institutions. Okay. So we have operating accounts, we have investment accounts, we have money market accounts and so on and so forth. All that is restricted and we have to apply Florida statute laws as to what we can invest in. So that's where it's slide number 14, page number 14. Okay. So that's where all your cash is invested at. The next group underneath that's how it gets allocated. That's how it gets allocated to the different funds. Okay. So when somebody says, hey, I want to donate money to the library donation fund. Well, I can tell you right now, as of the audit, that has $10,274.60 or 80 cents. I can't see from that far. But so I know what that has exactly into it. And so at the end of the day, we know exactly which fund has which dollars in them at all times. So, but I just wanted to kind of show you that. Now, by the way, that's different than fund balance, right? Fund balance is like your equity. Okay, think about it as like takes your assets, less accumulated depreciation, or takes your accounts payable, right? That you still have to pay out and so on and so forth. But this right here, you're looking at every one of your funds has, instead of having, this is what we call pooled cash. Okay. So think about it like a partnership. If you were in a law firm where you have a partnership, well, this is the equity. There it is. But this is real cash.
The 19 million.
Yeah, 19 million. Right. So.
That's the
So
total of everything.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I mean,
right,
a
yeah.
lot of it is.
Yeah.
yeah, 10 million is right. Is
Right.
10, 12 million is your general fund.
Yeah.
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Yep.
It's
Yep,
never
yeah,
sustained.
right, exactly. But we're required, obviously, we have to keep them all separate.
Right.
And so it's just our requirement. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you that. So in essence, our goal for FY27 is to keep the millage the same, right? Take that extra $600,000 that we're gonna get.
Yeah.
We're not going to tap into pulling money from reserves for FY27 yet. You know what I mean? We're not going to do that, right?
Right.
We're going to control, maybe slow down a little bit of our capital spending. Keep in mind, right? We have labor, you have operating, and then you also have capital spending, okay, for each department. So
Have you identified any one of those? An example? What would be something like that?
Well,
Reduce
well,
the capital spending.
right. Well, what we've done and what we've committed to it, but we haven't yet budgeted for it. For example, if we go forward with the fire department annex building here, right? It's not necessarily included in these budget dollars. I would have to come to you for a budget amendment. I would say, here's the engineering, here's the architecture, here's the construction cost. And your question would be, well, David, where are we getting the money from? Right? And then at that moment in time, I would say, well, we're going to pull it from our excess reserves of $4 million or what have you. So. So the next ones, and I'll speed it up. Sorry, I know that the later discussion is more important. I'm sorry about that. This right here is your building fund. Remember, separate fund, right? Look at here, look at what the building fund has, right? The building fund has right now it has $4.5 million in that, in that fund there. So that's the building fund. So let's go through the building fund. I am anticipating right now early adoption. I am anticipating that we're going to have a little slight decrease. Remember, we still have the interlocal agreement, but I am starting to see, Jeff and I were talking, we are starting to see, you remember he was just up here, he was talking about changes in the permit fees, things like that. That's only $20,000. That's, that's really nothing, but I'm going to be conservative. Okay. And I'm going to say, you know what? I think our revenues are going to come down slightly in that fund. I mean, it's been growing phenomenally, right? It's been growing from 3% to 11%. I'm estimating that we're going to be at 6% actuals. Those are your left-hand fields there. And usually when you see appropriation from reserves, that means that we're pulling money out of that fund's reserves to match, to balance the budget. So if I have expenses, I need to have revenue to balance it out. So, so right now, we're looking at, transfers out. We've increased the transfers out to the general fund. We increased that about $200,000. They used to do, $500,000. And now we went up to $700,000. Now we're going up to $900,000. This is their equitable share to cover their overhead, just like we saw in the transfers of funds. The water department pays the general fund. The sewer department pays the water fund. All the funds have to push their representative share of the overall running of the government.
Is it enough? Do you think maybe they should pay more?
They It gets audited every year. So every year I've got to show the auditors my method of allocation, right? And so when you look at what $900,000 is, remember your budget is 20 million-ish, right? You know, $900,000,
yeah.
big deal. It comes out to be like 3%. Yeah, we could definitely increase that if, you know, if we
We'll
want.
bring it up to 900.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we can. Well, right now we're
It's on nine-
anticipated. that.
Oh,
We're-
because
we're going up to
2027,
900.
you're doing 900.
Yep.
Can,
So, yeah, can you do a million? Like what is limiting you there? I mean, like, how are you justifying it? Can you justify more?
So they didn't pass anything in the last session. I think it's going to get revisited where they start to look at these funds, enterprise funds, and limiting the amount of transfer to the general fund. Some communities exploit it, some underdo it like us. So there's a sweet spot. So as long as you never exceed 25% of the building department's operating revenue, you're generally okay-ish. But the legislator could say, no, it's going to be 5% or 10. And if we talk about these general law provisions, hold on to your hat, folks. So I usually try to keep it under 25%. I wouldn't go over that. I would try to stay under it so you don't draw attention to it. I think the auditor would start to question when the building department is, you know, a lot of their revenue is leaving. So long as it's like 25%, it's always kind of that magical operating number for every dollar generated. There's 25%. Your time, operating lights.
The general manager's time, you know, accounting.
We pay for their legal fees. I mean, like all that stuff is coming, you know, they're paying for that.
We pay for all that.
Right.
I mean, I think, you know, so 25% of what on this chart? Is it of the 3 million? Is
Well,
that-
no, yeah, so about three, so what, if
Says
our
28.
budget is $2.9 million
Okay, so
of
25%
expenses,
of that.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So what,
keep it around that number would be my strong advice, just so it doesn't draw the ire of an auditor.
of the 2918, is that the
Mhm.
number you're looking at?
So we're more, but
Full
I'm good with
budget?
it. I mean, I
Yeah.
would go to 4. I don't know. I would go
again,
as high as you can.
So remember Gulfstream and Highland Beach, it takes like one project and your revenue is like
yeah,
all over the board. So last year, when the Milani family applied for their permits, Jeff wanted them to wait a little longer, but they applied before the fiscal year turnover and it was $350,000 for one permit. That changes it. Or Gulfstream comes in with a project and it's a $573,000 permit. It just changes everything, but you can't guess who's next.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at Jeff's May report, we're soft 50% on Highland Beach revenues.
Yeah.
So we don't know, but all of a sudden it just takes one permit or a couple of owners to say, yeah, let's do it this summer. Let's just get it over with. And then boom, you got 2 or 3 remodels on $3 million condos and it changes the whole revenue stream. It's, you know,
But they have a ton of reserves. So and how easily can you move this around? Can it be 1.1 million one year, 700 another year?
as long as, just like anything else, we just have to have justified, right? I just have to show the method of allocation,
Mhm.
right? And right now we look at all the general funds expenditures, including legal or whatever, their proportionate share of insurance and things like that. And we estimate a percentage. And as long as we have a method of allocation, the auditors are like, okay. that's
But
fine.
you're very, but any auditor that would come in, Dave, you are conservative.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's not even questionable.
Right, right. Well, I want to be able to pull
to
these
be.
alternate levers
Yeah.
when we need it. And that's not a bad thing. So yes, we can look at a next,
So maybe in the future, when
Iteration.
we are really tight, because we're not tight now.
right.
It's not an issue. I mean, the only issue
Mm-hmm.
I'd say is I think the fund balance for the building department is kind of high.
Yes.
But you know, I think that perhaps we could justify at some point in time when we
Yep.
need it, I don't know, to move it over, you know, move some of that
We'll do that.
reserve over. I don't know, maybe they should pay more, you know,
So they're
more
paying
of
for
the
a lot.
dock. Maybe they should pay more of the old firehouse, you know.
so they're paying a lot for a lot of the capital, the roof for the public, because
Yeah.
I can't find any record that the building department revenue was ever utilized to do any capital improvements. So they're sitting in our water plant and never paid for it. We paid it on debt service out of the general fund. So they're going to pay for the roof, the windows, they're going to repave the parking lot. So a lot of those costs are going to get back over and that'll chip away pretty well at that fund, but we'll probably still be a little flush. But we still have to remember, and it's hard because they set standards on it, that when we get those big permits, those are like 2-3 year projects that we're carrying inspections and all that stuff too. So.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about trying to spend future money that maybe the building department might collect. I'm talking about what's in reserves right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, no.
You know,
absolutely.
that,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
I would want to apply the whole 5-year forecast thing to the building fund and make sure we have enough and all that kind of stuff. But I think we're like,
They're great.
they have a lot.
They're fine.
Yeah. Well, look at how many days cash they have.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
right. So,
exactly.
let's define what days cash is. Days cash is I take that year's annual operating expenses divided by 365 days and then divide that by how much cash they have in to get okay, how many days can they last without having another dollar?
Right.
Another dollar.
2 years.
Right. Meanwhile, they cover all of their expenses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They can
And so,
exist for 2 years, which is great. And I want
Right.
them to be in a good
So-
position, but I just think they need to pay their fair share. And if they hadn't been paying stuff in the past, I don't know. I think there's.
And some of that too is their transfers to kind of also give us cover too it's Gulfstream. We're managing a department for Gulfstream at zero cost. So
Yes.
we need to capture our cost
Yes.
from the Gulfstream revenue,
Right.
revenue that comes in, which is almost as much as ours the last couple of years. That needs to come back over to us because we agreed to handle the contract.
so
do all that
maybe,
stuff for
right.
them.
So maybe that's a separate additional allocation. Right. Yeah.
I think
No,
that
I
is
got
a
you. Yeah.
very viable
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
So if you remember, like on most of our interlocals, except for the one went really bad for us, but there's usually, right, I put it in there. There's always an administrative cost associated to handling these things for other towns. We do it for the water, we do it for sewer, we do it for the fire, for the police dispatch services. There's an admin cost on top of their
Absolutely.
actual for managing and doing it on. So we're safe in those zones.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Are you comfortable with the plan? We're trending minus 10% between us and Gulfstream year to date. Are you comfortable with the
Yeah.
projection? for that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's, it's building is one of those things that is hard to get a trend line on, right? Most other communities really, it's a challenge for them because sometimes they're really heavily weighted on their own staff, right? Versus we have a great hybrid method, right? Where we have the right amount of staff and then we outsource for a certain amount, right? Of work. And so it's a great, so what it does is it keeps our overhead low, right? For the day-to-day stuff, but yet with that model, we are able to provide the contractor, CapGov, enough work that they give us dedicated staff. So it really is a excellent model for this area.
Would it be advantageous to seek other towns to do the same thing? Good sources.
It's Gulfstream's a perfect match for us. Their commission, very similar to you, very smart. They think forward about things. They're not at each other at all times. There isn't a lot of political energy and negative energy. You got to, they have a good stable manager. Trey's a really good guy. He keeps everything in the right place. So it's a stable community. Those make great partners. It's the unstable ones. And, that's hard to do. Boca and Delray are never going to partner for building. It would be the smaller communities. I know that Ocean Ridge at one time asked us, but they're a little, I don't want to bring it in our house. So I kind of pushed away from that. But if it does, the opportunities jump up.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at it.
Right.
It has to be the right match, to be selective a little bit.
Right. So now we're going to, and again, as we said before, this fund, the building fund, they've got their own fund. They've got very healthy cash for them, as we just discussed. Now we go on to the water fund. The water fund happens to be our weakest fund. Just because we have the overall, the budget is going to go down by 6.3%, but that's because we're not pulling as much money from reserves. The reason why is is because their cash balances are starting to run a little bit closer than I would like. So but we'll look at that. So right now, we anticipate for now into the foreseeable future in this area that a 5% is going to be the status quo. You know, if chemicals, especially chlorine, the heavy equipment, things like that, if their increases is at least minimum of 2.9%, you know, we're going to go to 5%. Here's what a water fund has to do. A water fund has to not only cover its cost, but it also has to cover its obviously debt service, which is part of the cost, but it has to charge enough to cover its cost, its capital, and its future capital needs without going into more debt. Now, this system's been great because here's why. We haven't gone into more debt. Matter of fact, we've paid more debt off. I'll go back to those. Let me go to the debt. You can see our debt this is our debt service. Debt service in government is defined as principal and interest. Okay. So you can see, look at those interest rates, right? We got a loan out there for 1.18%. Those were the good old days. Right. And so anyway, you can see also the dates of maturity. Now our next one, we have to hold on. We came off of some good years, but our next drop off is going to be in 2029. So we hold steady at about $810,000 a year that fund has to pay out in debt service, right? We got to hold that steady, and then it drops in 2029. But as far as the usage, this right here, what you're looking at here is usage. The top right-hand side is gallons, okay? So what do I mean by well, that's how many gallons that we use. Sometimes we like to look at gallons because what it does is it strips out the rate adjustments, right? But I will tell you that what you're looking at is the peak. We're very seasonal here, as you're aware, and that we have 6 billing cycles. We just went through 3 of them. At that third one, that's our top. Most of it obviously starts to drop off. And so, but we are up. We're up in the water so far. When you compare year to year, when I compare where we're at the first 3 billing cycles this year versus the last year, first 3 billing cycles, we're up almost 11%. And with irrigation, so you got waters on top there, irrigation, the same thing. We're looking at gallons. We're just looking at gallons used. We're up about 7%, okay? When we compare it year over year. So that's good. But when we go through this 3 more times as we get closer to September, you're going to start to see those numbers drop off just because of seasonality.
Can we go back? I'm sorry to go back to
No.
slide 18. I just have a question. So
It's 18, right? Yeah.
the line that says transfers in.
Mhm.
So starting fiscal 2025, those transfers in are only from the sewer fund, correct? No more transfers from the
That's correct.
general fund. And then you're increasing the transfers in 2027 from the sewer fund
Yep.
instead of 220 to 300.
Yes.
Is there any room to increase that 300?
Well, let's look at the sewer. Keep in mind, we just got done. Remember what our commitment was with sewer. We were looking at, for sewer relining, we were looking at some crazy contracted numbers, right? So we held steady. We said, you know what, let's do it with the excess cash that we have, right? So we knew that excess cash that we had segregated or held back, we were going to put that to use. We got a great bang for the dollar. We found the right contractor at the right price, and obviously we're in that. So when we go to the sewer fund, let me just go to the sewer fund real quick. This right here is your expenditures. So the sewer fund, when we look at the sewer fund's days cash, let's just look at that one there. Yeah, the sewer fund. Yeah, I mean, we could probably, you can see my estimate there in 2026. I'm on slide, what is that, 27? Yeah, I'm on slide 27. So now on slide 27, what you're looking at there is their days cash, right? And so I'm saying that, hey, we have about $3.1 million, right? At the end of our audit for FY 25. I'm anticipating that we're going to be done with that sewer lining project and all the other projects. We're going to be done with that. And that value is going to drop down. So it's going to leave us about $1.6 million in there, right? And then we kind of break even because that was kind of the biggest project. We're still at 300 and something days. Now, the thing we have to be concerned about is this. Number one, I didn't assume any additional grant dollars. Remember, we used to get $250 or something like that for lift stations, right? I didn't assume any of that in 2027, just to be conservative. But the other thing too, we have to consider is our agreement is with Delray, right? To process our sewer. So the only thing that our sewer department is lines under the ground that go to lift stations. All of those lift stations pump to the next lift station, pump to the next lift station, right? Till we get to the Delray interconnect. And then that's where it goes to get treated, right? And so we are beholden to Delray, right, for that. And so although in a sewer environment, your sewer fund is the most corrosive environment, right? It is. Matter of fact, I tell people the only thing better than buying a boat is buy a sewer utility. I mean, but at the end of the day, it usually is a lot of repairs and maintenance. The reason why is because when you do have breaks, when you do have a pipe separating, when you do have those horrible things that you have to fix, it gets to be a mess. I think you're in a healthy place right now.
Okay,
And
so you want to keep that?
I would want to keep it at the 300 days cash because I have two outliers that I don't know about. I don't know about the contract. I know that we come up for renewal, I think. But
It's a couple years.
couple years. So we'll see what happens with that. So, but anyway, I think I'm comfortable with that right now, but we can move some stuff around with the building fund and things like that. So.
Okay, sounds good.
But anyway, so this fund here as well was, we had assumed a 5% increase. This one here is doing well as well. This is what you're looking at. Here's the gallons treated. And again, so far we're up almost 6%. As compared to our revenues are up by 8%. Well, 5% of that is obviously increases in rates plus the other increases in consumption. But it's all good stuff. It's all up and trending to the right, which is good and what you want to see. So to summarize this until we get to the real good stuff. What you're looking at here on page 28, I'm sorry, slide 28. This is your overall budget. This is every fund. The top line is your sources of revenue. The bottom section are your uses of funds, right? And you can see, like, for example, let me just give you an example. Really only 52% of your expenditures are labor and related. It's not off the chart. You have a nice balance of, hey, 30% is operating costs. 52% is our personnel. Only 6% this year is for our capital. Debt service obviously is fixed. Transfers out is 6%, and appropriation to reserves is about 2%. And so when you look at by fund, how we're going to use those funds and what they're going to be committed to, it seems very, very realistic.
So with all that happy news, I'm going to take just a moment to start our communications on the property tax constitutional amendment.
But I think we could still summarize this even like
Good.
we're in good shape.
Yep.
There's no reason to change them. I don't see any reason
I wouldn't
to
recommend-
change the millage. We are still moving stuff. There's still amounts that are moving to the general fund balance.
Yes.
I think now your latest estimate is what, $500,000? You're budgeted $500,000 to go to the general fund. This year, I forget what was budgeted, but 2026, almost 2 million is actually going to the general fund, but some of that is because of delayed capital expenditures.
Some of that and some of the funds that were appropriate to reserve, those dollars have been all used. So David, I think is not conservative for the first time, and he's being a little wishful and thinking that 2 million is going to drop out of the current operating budget this
Yeah,
year.
right. Yeah, it should, right. My 26 estimate.
Current, it's not going to be 2 million?
It's just an
That
estimate.
money's gone.
Right. I'm just looking at estimates. I'm looking at what contracts we have, what have you, but that might not be,
That,
but, right. Then that's under the 26 estimate, right?
so you're saying,
Because there was an amount budgeted to appropriation to reserve was around $1.2 million. That's been utilized for equipment purchases, capital projects.
Yeah.
So that's been whittled down. We'll still come out ahead.
Yeah.
But I think 2 million is a little strong because some of the initial anticipated
Yeah.
dropouts have been utilized.
Right. I
That
think
makes
it's,
sense.
right. I think it's slide number 11. So slide number 11, it's like 1 point.
Okay, yeah, so 11,
right,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
so, okay, oh, I'm sorry.
And,
What
and,
I'm, what
and
I'm,
that's just an estimate of what we think. Now, that depends on, all right, what between now and by the time October comes around, what did we actually encumber ourselves?
okay, so the 1 point, so 2024, 1.2 went to
Mhm.
reserves.
Appropriation to reserves.
This year, no, last year,
2025,
I
yep,
guess, right, last
1.9,
year.
yep.
Almost 2 million went to
Yep.
reserves. This year, you put in this chart, your estimate was 1.4, but it's really gonna be less?
It's gonna be less by about half that.
Okay, so 700.
But I mean, it's still, I think just our natural conservative nature of
Yeah.
spending, and you can't be a perfect at budgeting.
No, I know, I know.
Yeah.
No, I know.
But we had a fund amount where we did a budget and we said there's gonna be about 2 million, or it was almost actually 1.4 like that,
Yeah.
drop out. But when we went through some of the projects, some of the engineering, all that stuff,
It whittled down.
it
Yeah,
whittled
yeah,
down.
yeah.
So it's not as high as we initially anticipated.
Sure.
We'd always have, I don't want to say always, but I guess since I've been here, always had money drop out.
Yeah.
Just different amounts. I think this year is just a little bit more close to budget numbers.
And then next, the 2027 projected is 500,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I look at that a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't
To
want
see
to
like,
put a big number in.
what, our millage. So looking at that, we've still been putting money away.
Yes.
You are projecting as much as everything that we know.
Yeah.
So to me, that says that our millage, our millage rate
Is
is
appropriate.
good. Yeah,
Right, right.
appropriate.
Yes.
So, okay, now sorry, I just wanted to summarize.
No.
Sorry, I should have summarized it.
No, that is what was meaningful.
Right.
That's what I needed to say.
Yeah,
I don't
everything is
know if,
fine. Everything is fine. We're on status quo. Matter of fact, you're exception without a doubt. The only thing that we're questioning, and Marshall will take it from here. But, but overall, your budget right now to run the town is about $30 million, a year. Not, this year coming up. That's what it takes. Now, whether or not certain capital projects drop off or we push them off, right? That's or my other estimates and how much we're going to get from sales tax dollars or franchise fees, how much that's going to be, or if we're going to get any grant dollars or anything, that'll sway the numbers. But overall, about in total, about $30 million. So. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank
So, and again, these, so the constitutional amendment, so you see that it's a graduated implementation over a 2-year period. The 150 starts in the calendar year of 27 for the property appraiser, goes to 250 and 28. We had information provided to us from the property appraisers. I took a slightly more conservative approach because their numbers are I don't want to say guesses, but estimates, and there'll be some changes. So I like a more conservative number, $1 million the first year, $1.7 million the second. It'll probably be, according to their numbers, slightly less, but not wildly less. Maybe on the 2028, 29. So those are the two in and of themselves, the increase the exemption to 250, and I think we had the conversation at this meeting that if they did that, we could manage. We could manage.
Yeah.
Not so fast.
Well, I want to clarify too. I mean, your first line that it's $1 million, it's not really $1 million, right? It's because 300,000, the current reduction is 300,000.
Correct.
So it's,
Clarified on the next page. We
Okay.
worked on that chart.
Okay.
but
Okay.
This was $1 million, all exemptions.
all
All
exemptions,
exemptions.
which currently it's 300,000
Correct.
is what the revenue reduction is. So it's not an additional million.
It's
It's $1 million, including,
$580,000, $600,000
Right.
difference.
Right.
delta between the two.
right,
Um,
right.
but for points of conversation for the public to know, it's $1 million less. You could say it was 300 was already coming out, but we don't know all of the homestead properties when that starts to happen and goes into place and moving of properties. But for the point of conversation, we got a two-step process, 250. We'll make it through that number manageably, but what we have to recognize too is structural. It doesn't bounce back. It stays there because they've capped growth. Now, does growth continue on? Yes. But as you'll see up there, the growth cap is 5% instead of 10. And since 60% of our properties for simple math is driven by a 10% growth rate, that's now capped at 5. So it's going to slow. Homestead will still grow, but it's at 3% or CPI, whatever's lower. So our growth rates, as David indicated, is probably going to be more to 2 to 3%, which always helps us in the long term. But what we can't guess is how many properties are moved back and forth. I think that'll be somewhat limited based on the 5-year waiting period. I think it's not going to be as exotic here on the Barrier Island as it might be interior in North Florida. That movement is bigger. The ones that I'm concerned on are the general law provisions that the legislator takes out of the Constitution and puts in their hands. And because they're been strong on preemptions, because they're agitated with a few municipalities that we all pay the price, they're going to say that they're going to come up with a uniform procedure for you all to do a full exemption. And some communities will, some communities might not, but they're going to create a procedure for you to do that under general law. So you don't have to go to the Constitution again to do it, additional homestead. They're going to allow it to be done at the local level. Good, bad, or indifferent, but that's taking it out of the Constitution and putting it to an elected body. And I don't know if there'll be an undoing. So if a political body is charged to undo it, can they not do that and go back and forth? Because once you go, my guess is they're going to put a procedure, once you go full exemption, your community is a full exempt community. The other one is a spending threshold. You hear a lot of them talk about core services, police, fire, infrastructure, environment. Those things are core services, but it does include under the Constitution that you charge as elected municipalities can, spend dollars on services necessary to maintain local government. They want to put it in their hands to say, no, we're going to, by general law, tell you what you can and can't spend your money on. Good, bad, or indifferent. It takes it out of the local control and out of the Constitution and puts it in the legislator who has this bent against that home rule concept. So those two things are very concerning. As much as the money, I think we'll get through it because we're planned and we're in financially a strong position. Those general law provisions will no longer be in our hands, and it doesn't go to the voters even. It's just the legislator can make changes moving forward, and they've kind of tipped their hat as to what they believe money should be spent on, not what we think money should be spent on. Their goal is to take it away from 501(c)(3)s out of the general fund for some of these municipalities they're mad at, but it could fall over to these unintended consequences that they're not that specific and say it's only police and fire, it's only this, it's only that, or they could up to X, so they can do those things. So those are things to be careful of moving forward, but the financial stuff we can manage. The other one is SB 4.
Financial stuff we can manage. I'm going to do a plaque for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the general law stuff goes through, the numbers in and of themselves are challenging, but you all are smart and we planned for this. You guys have a good head on your shoulder. We know where we're going. The community's behind it. We planned well. But with the general law, when we no longer know what it is from year to year, the 60-day session drives what you can do. Makes me very uncomfortable for y'all, just because I won't be able to predict. David won't be able to project. It's just we'll have to wait till it comes out of the legislative session in a spin cycle. The SP for the millage rate. So, you can go up no more than 110% with 2/3 vote. So basically 4 of you would have to approve, up to the 110% of rollback. If you're over the 110% rollback, it requires a unanimous vote. And that's where you're going to be in this situation based on the summary the mayor provided to keep our millage rate. Our rollback is 3.1889, which exceeds 110% to go to the 3.5875. So you will all have to approve the millage rate for it to move forward. You have since I've been here, but if one decides not to, we cannot go to that millage rate. So we'll all have to be on the same page.
Go to the current millage rate.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
So
Yeah.
we'd probably be at like 3.49 if we only had 4 people. So that new threshold, it used to be you could go up to it with just a simple majority. Now you need 2/3, and they contemplated 2/3 based on a 7 or 9 person commission on a 5-person. 2/3 math doesn't work. So 4 out of the 5 has to be approving up to anything over the rollback rate. So to go beyond the rollback rate, 4 of you have to agree. To go beyond 110%, you all have to agree.
Right.
So this is the other governor, as we were talking about e-bikes, not the governor-elect or elected, but the governor is placed in there on how you could change millage rates.
What is the rollback rate? I'm sorry, could you say that?
3.1889. So to go to the 3.5 will be at like 112%, if I'm right, 105.75. So we'd have to have unanimous.
So, but if we get a unanimous vote, so when I say,
To carry out your plan
our
that you've been
current-
working on all these years,
yes,
but I'm hoping you're all unanimous.
No,
on that.
we are, but it's just interesting just to keep it.
I
the
usually
same.
find increasing millage rates makes everybody tense up and takes it harder. But to do that, even
it the
you
same.
all have to agree.
Yeah.
All of you, or a referendum. So the voters could vote on it and overturn your vote. If a majority of the referendum to increase the millage rate, then they could trump the commission to do it.
I feel very comfortable because I feel we're more like a speedboat than a huge yacht. We can turn very quickly.
Well, you know, it's by reducing the non-homestead from 10 to 5.
Mhm. It's gonna slow it down a bit.
Yeah.
I can't project
Quite
out
a bit.
exactly, so don't, but I'm just saying if we have
But that's that's a.
2.5 billion used to grow potentially at 10% in good market conditions. That's our non-homestead value as of today, the 25 numbers or the numbers we're going into. You know, take that 10 to 5%, it slows that rate. Like it's designed to. That's done for a reason. It just slows it down. So to get to those 13%, I don't think will ever happen again. Once it passes, it'll come down.
What is the timeline as far as us knowing when everything will go into effect?
Budget's fine. It's the year after's budget that we'll have to worry about. It's the assessor's calendar year. She goes January 1 through December 31st
Okay.
of 27. So starting in January 1 of 27, we would be looking at $150,000
Okay.
homestead reduction. That we can live with pretty handily. Our
Mhm.
plans are in good shape. 250, we got to think about things a little bit more, maybe scale back some stuff, maybe some austerity measures. We have to change a few things, but that's assuming there's no growth. So even at 2% growth gives us a little bit more breathing room and makes that number balance. So,
What about how are we with investments? Did the market go in?
the market's going great.
Oh,
Our investment, but again, we can only invest in like,
yeah, I can't,
Bills.
I can't invest in SpaceX.
Cameron.
I just got.
well, I did. So there's a guy going to arrest me here in about a half hour, but you guys are fine for the next 20
Yeah,
years.
So, but right, I got to do treasury bill. Yes, Florida legislation restricts it.
So this is on the
Yep.
the election, August.
No, it's going to be a November election. There's a lawsuit filed that makes some pretty tangible points. So I'm thinking the language will be sensationalized a little bit because it's kind of like some very opinionated statements in there. So they're going to probably prevail in some fashion, and the attorney general will have to rewrite. It'll be on there though, but I think the lawsuit will prevail for them to be a little more honest and clear cut on the ballot description and the language of supporting it. So the bill support language. Now, what we all have to remember too is they pass these things and they understand there's things that they don't know. So they do an implementing bill within 60 days. So the legislator will reconvene if it passes and then clarify what they meant. So that makes,
seem right.
it doesn't seem right, but once we say general law, they can do a lot. And I don't want to say that I have a problem with legislators, right? I'm just saying their history tends to show what their intent will be. And it's no longer us as the voters of the state of Florida saying, amend the Constitution to do these things. We're saying amend it now, and the legislator can. So people have described it. One is a tax shift. You're taking it from homestead to non-homestead. Some people believe that. It looks like it, but it's also a power shift from local and constitution to the legislator. So there's the kind of.
Which that has to be emphasized. So I guess one question I have, so I know,
Sure, yeah.
I know the law, on the ballot will be, the real estate tax thing.
Mhm.
But the thing about the rollback, the
It's
limit.
already approved. That was
That's
statutory.
approved. That's
Done.
not something that we vote on. That's a done deal. So next year, we abide by all that, right? We have to be.
Right
you
now
know-
to vote. Yep. So when we vote on our budget this year, the
Oh,
SB
this year.
4
It'll.
This year.
This year, January.
This year, you're
Effective.
gonna need a unanimous vote, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't realize the timing of that.
So this year,
Okay.
you,
Yeah, we have no
I'm pretty
problem. We
confident
have
you
no
guys are
problem.
in the right
But-
spaces to make good decisions. We're not
But
like,
if we have
lot of
ever,
fighting going on.
if we ever have to make a change, I mean, that's going to be, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, that is enlightening. I did not know that. Good to know.
Hey, Marshall, I have a
What
question.
if it doesn't pass?
our 5-year plan carries forward.
Good to go.
Well, yeah, so I guess
We're
what
golden.
could I know when we have something on the ballot, we as Highland Beach cannot promote it or whatever, there's rules, right? So with this real estate change that the Florida legislator is putting on the ballot, can Highland Beach help educate people about it?
Here,
Only here. You can't send anything out that
Can't send-
advocates one position or another. You can have workshops here. You can post stuff on your website that's factual. You can have like a forum to explain the impacts that this is going to
I
have.
will explain it in very.
But you can't
non-
advocate against it
I just,
or for
okay.
it.
Yes,
And you can't send out anything or use public funds to send anything.
okay.
And look, all of you can speak with your constituents. I think that's really important that you explain to people that there's a lot more. Yeah. I mean, you look at it, and you're like, who wants to pay property taxes?
I know.
That's great.
I know.
But money must come from somewhere.
And
So-
I think what Marshall is alluding to also, so section 9 of this law, which is at the end, it's page 17 and 18 out of 20, which is where they prescribe what ad valorem taxes can be used for.
Mhm.
And they say public safety, infrastructure, natural resource projects, and for operations, but no money, like they don't mention parks, they don't mention food truck events, they don't mention library. So basic, like people need to know. Yeah, I mean, this is exciting, right? I mean, if you have a property valued at 250 or less or whatever, and it's your homestead, you potentially could pay no
It's not a
taxes.
topic of conversation. And I mean, I'm involved with a lot of presidents. I listened, this is definitely not a topic of conversation. And the reason is most of them don't understand how to describe their numbers. So they keep away from areas that they cannot articulate. So it's not even, and it's whether it's foundations, they're just not discussing it right now. It's a discussion amongst us. But if you were to walk and talk to other presidents here in Highland Beach, it is not a topic of conversation.
What isn't the whole bill, the whole thing that's going to be
Just
on the ballot?
Topic of property tax, it is not a discussion topic.
It is for me. I'm hearing it all over the place. And I think people are in favor of it because they're just thinking of the short-term
Mhm.
benefit of a reduction in taxes. But this will severely limit what municipalities can pay for, like no more parks. No, no more, like we
Or
have.
it would have to be fee-based, or everything would be fee-based.
To pay to go much more than what you do now. We have a line item in our budget. I think it's 500,000 for the library. We can't do, we would not be able to do, once, I forget what the timing is for this, but we would not be able to pay for that. Am I understanding that
Well,
correct?
right now we can, but they're giving themselves the general law authority to change that because it's under what Article 8 of the Constitution stipulates how the municipalities, you get to decide as lawfully elected officials of the lawfully organized municipality, you get to choose. And they can't do it unless they change the Constitution. So now they're going to say, may be amended by the legislator under general law. So then they're going to start saying, we don't want you to spend here. We don't want you to spend here. We don't want you to spend here. Now you could think of your cultural red meat issues that you see flashing on the news screens, whatever, you like it or don't like it. Those, I believe, are what the legislator is targeting.
Right.
But we've given them carte blanche,
Right.
trust them into the future.
Right.
Is it just that? Or is it the other things that some developer, gets railroaded by a municipality as they think and, goes over to the legislator and says, I want this. I mean,
But they list out things that they think that municipalities can pay for, and it does not include
From
a
your ad
lot of-
valorem. So they're saying that your ad valorems could only be used, whatever you collect.
But then isn't there a severe limits on what you could do non-ad valorem?
well, those are fee based.
Depends
But
on,
what can or can't do based on fees? You can do a fire assessment fee. You can, there's a few other fees you can do. We can't do
Can you do library fee? Can you, like some of these things that
you have a library card fee. So you want to go to the library, it's $1,000.
Yeah, like that's
But,
what's going to happen.
But right now, our
It goes-
libraries,
so-
but our libraries is part of our general fund.
Exactly. And,
Right.
and it's saying that we're not going to be allowed to, right? Am I interpreting?
Because it says what's allowed under the Constitution. But the only thing that's scary is that they would then have next session, they would go in and clean this up. And now they have general law ability and they can say, what we really meant is just police and fire, or just police, fire and infrastructure and environment.
Town clerk,
I
town
mean, they
manager.
already
commission.
say that in section 9.
Well, the
They-
big argument they had was constitutional officers, right? So you have your property appraiser, you have your tax collector, you have the comp controller, clerk of records. They use ad valorem dollars to survive as well. They do a lot of fees, but they have a lot of ad valorem dollars. The sheriff and stuff like that, which will be protected under public safety provisions. In order to get the bill passed at the legislature, they had, all of these constitutional officers saying, wait a minute, we're not included in any of this, because they wanted to just say police, fire, and they wanted to provide a protection for them too. They said, your rollback year, 1 year back is what their base is, and you can't cut any further. And that's conversations, I know a couple of us had at the Florida League of Cities luncheon was like, if I have to maintain all of police and fire and then take a full exemption, at the time when we talked, it was full exemption. Sorry,
It doesn't work.
we're totally wiped out.
Yeah,
Like,
it's almost 70% of your budget expenditures, yeah.
mhm. So, I mean, it wouldn't be, we'd be $3-4 million number. We'd be in trouble. But we're not, but they're having uniform procedures. So you're going to have a lot of municipalities that'll get excited, and smaller boards like this, you could have 3 run on a ticket and say, we're removing homestead exemption, probably prevail in some municipalities, and homestead exemption's gone. So that stuff happens,
Yeah.
Right.
So they're going to create a procedure by which a local municipality can exempt themselves. It's pretty.
I think there's a
pretty
lot of
tricky.
unintended consequences that are in this bill that people aren't going to realize.
I mean, ideally, they should have just picked the number and said. 250
Exactly,
and-
exactly. And that's it. And that's
Yep.
it. Exactly. And not put in all this additional,
Cause you would naturally have put that
right,
control in place,
right.
but they're trying to pull a lot of different things. And then to the electorate, it's gonna be hard for them to comprehend.
It is.
It's because it's so many little things, 5 years here, but not here, 150 to 250, general law to do this. You can't.
And it's not in any of the communications that I've seen, like all the little cute infographics. None of that is. in
That's
it.
why the lawsuit was filed, because you really can't,
Right.
you don't get any of that detail.
Right.
None.
It's excessive property tax.
And
It
it
sounds excessive.
says, protect small businesses. there's no mention of small businesses. It just changes the cap. So, like you can only go up 5%. Yeah, it's very misleading as to how it's presented as well.
It really is. It really is.
So I mean, those are, again, it's the general law provisions that really worry me because it's future unknown, but they're going to be lawfully allowed to do it. And they have a history. 254 preemption bills were filed this year against local governments. They don't have a tendency of slowing down, right? So once they have that general law ability, you're going to see local government change and shape. I think we exist, we survive. This might look a lot different. And you have almost no way to plan for it until the legislator takes action. And usually they like a July 1 start date, right? So you're going to have to, pivot quickly.
What is our timing with regard to educating the community?
We're doing it right now with all the viewers watching.
The community's not here.
About it here or
Oh, no.
personally.
Okay.
I think we got to Skender and Madison. They got it. Evelyn's on board. See her shaking her head. She's following. I talked to the chief about it a bunch of times. So we're good.
The real challenge is that the community's not here. And by the time the community of owners, a high percentage aren't here, by the time they come back, the game is over because they just don't have an impact over the next 4, 5, 6 months. So really the small cadre of voices is not enough. And so
There'll be some movement.
For voters.
You'll see some movement once the budget's signed. Once the governor signs the budget, some groups that are sitting on the sideline, I think will become a little more involved. Maybe the Chamber of Commerce, slightly, police and fire unions will probably start to chirp a little bit more. Once the budget's signed where they, have all these bills, like the Palm Beach fire bill got approved, outrageous. So, once those get signed, I think then some of the fire and police unions will get involved. Chamber of Commerce will come out. The county fire is extraordinarily in a bad shape where they're going to lose $143 million out of a $700 million budget. I haven't the faintest of how they patch that hole. Because that's an MSTU. It's a slightly different type of tax, but that's exempt. So.
see, not everyone loves a fireman. See that?
Right. I mean, they'll figure something out, but
I had to put that in there.
yeah, so you'll see more movement, more education. The incoming Speaker of the House isn't really all that excited about it because he used to be a municipal attorney. Garrison used to be up in Clay County. He's not really wild at what it does to rural and smaller communities. Basically, they're gone. Even counties are gone. And there wasn't a trust fund mechanism put in place to backstop these rural places.
Well, I mean, right now you're I think you're the third lowest millage, right? My prediction is because of how well you've planned things, you will be the number 1 lowest millage.
You don't Manalapan and.
Well, I don't know.
It's like, it's done no effect.
Yeah, it's not going to have an effect, right?
They'll
But
say they need to change their millage.
let me caveat a full service community. You know what I mean? Your own police, your own fire, your own library. Now, maybe Manalapan does have all that, but I don't know.
They do, but Derek's got control of it. Their tax value is so high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even.
Maybe there'll be more of a distance between. the
I'm surprised Palm Beach spoke a little bit. Kurt and his team there spoke a little bit more. They're going to get clipped a little. And I was surprised that they're talking out a little bit against it a little bit more than I would expected,
Hey, Marshall, I have a general question. Who is responsible for giving Dave all the numbers? Where does that information come from?
Our BSNA software. Susie does the 1s and 2s on all of the accounting and she puts it all into our system and then we
They do a great job.
Like everything else, you guys.
As someone who works with numbers every day,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of information coming in and they do a great job. They really do.
Marshall runs a tight ship.
Don't look at me like that.
No.
So
Yeah.
maybe we could summarize. So year 1, year 2, if this passes, I think we're okay, but then
I think after that, we just have to either it's hope we hold on to that the legislator doesn't become overly punitive. Maybe they'll feel, hey, we got this in place. Let's take a break for a little bit, or they could continue on I mean, you see some folks running on this issue pretty hard, so I don't know that it disappears. I mean, with the the state CFO was in Boca and made the claim that the county is, misspent $1.2 billion. I don't think the energy comes out of the balloon or this movement right away. So when they get that general law authority, there's going to be some of the power brokers in Tallahassee are probably going to want to finish what they started.
And how is it tracking right now? It's still pretty close, whether or not
Right
the
now, it's
voters?
about 62%.
Oh, just
So
a
it
little over.
looks like it's gonna, but again, it's early and you'll start seeing, if you watch any of the news, you'll start seeing news articles more commonly run out of it. Our lobbyist said this, so I won't take credit in case, but this is kind of like the governor's kind of legacy he's leaving. He's sitting on $60 million in PAC funds that he can use. So this movement could potentially become well-funded. The governor tends to be well-respected throughout the state. Rightfully so. Seems like he's good at, but this issue seems a little bit a myth, especially for us here in local towns. And it's gonna be tough, and I think more players will get involved once the budget's signed and everybody gets their earmarks and appropriations and budgets are settled. And I think people have time to start processing what does this mean moving forward. But I think it'll be popular. The way it's written, it looks popular. We're gonna excess property tax,
Right.
250,000 of your value. I think a lot of Floridians will, that vote will like it, just the numbers. They're not gonna, I don't know how well they'll grasp how much control you're losing in your local communities, but I don't know if it plays well,
So, well, I mean, we'll continue to look, the way we calculate it is we look at your operating expenses. And then what we do is we take your revenue, but then we minus the other revenue, right? So we take your expenses, right? And we divide that by your taxable property values times 1,000 to get your millage rate. But we also take away from there you remember the slide that I had on there that said your property taxes pay for 74% of your budget, right? So we take away those other types of revenues that come in, just looking at the millage. And so, we'll look at that, but this year will be fine. This time next year, right? Will be interesting. We'll see.
Our conversations will be a little bit more
Yeah, right.
focused on
right.
that.
But then you might see the shift, Madam Mayor and Council, from, okay, this is when in order to bridge the gap, the way to balance the budget, I might have to pull from reserves. I might have to pull from reserves $500,000, 600,000, whatever that is. We'll look at that.
Madam Mayor.
585, 725, I think is the number was came up with, right?
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
And nothing to yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Any
Thank
other
you.
discussion
Great
about the
job.
budget?
Great
Thank you
job.
very much. That was excellent presentation,
Thank
very
you.
thorough. Thank you.
No.
Moving on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Shednotsky?
I think it was a full meeting, Madam Mayor. I think a lot was achieved and I think the community, it was impressive to see the community coming out and responding like almost 100%. And that was very impressive. And again, Evelyn, thank you, as always. Judy?
Well, it was a long day, 5:00. It's of concern. It's more optimistic as we look at the numbers today. But there's no way of escaping it. I mean, if we get the full panoply of what's contemplated up there, it's going to be very, very difficult. So it'll be a challenge, but it'll be a challenge that we'll work hard. I'm sure we'll be able to reach decisions that are for our benefit as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice seeing everybody coming out today and express their opinion, and that's about it. Everybody have a good weekend, I guess, and have a good 4th of July because we won't be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Great meeting. And Town attorney,
No, ma'am.
town manager.
Just about 20 minutes. So, no, just a quick recap. The signal at Linton and A1A, it's on FDOT in the city of Delray Beach, managed by the county for signalization. So, sargassum, again, it happens. It's seasonal. It moves every year. You got to rake it. There's nothing we could do. I don't know how you trap it out at sea. It's tracked by South Florida University. They have like a whole program. They're tracking it. It grows. It changes from year to year. It's just something we're gonna have to live with, but raking it does mitigate some of the impacts. That's it.
That's it. Okay, now
Well, before we close, Marshall, I just wanted to tell you, we so appreciate all your work, all your hard work.
yes, for sure.
I love it here. We got our work cut off for us moving forward. though,
Yeah.
boy. It's
Yeah.
gonna be tricky. It's gonna be tricky, but we'll do it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Announcements, board vacancies. We have a vacancy for a 3-year term on the Code Enforcement Board and the Financial Advisory Board, and the Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board. Upcoming meeting and events, June 19th, closed in observance of Juneteenth Day. July 3rd, closed in observance of Independence Day. July 9th is our next planning board regular meeting at 9:30 in the morning. And July 14th is our next town commission meeting. There are no board action reports. And with that, we can adjourn. Thank you very much, everybody.